Hey everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Film Freaks TV, movies that we love.
Hello, hello,
And we
hello, hello, hello.
all right. Paul's a little excited. I don't know. Um, and here we are with my co. I'm Jonathan Moody, the host, and I'm here with
You'll moo your eye out. Wally Presenza, otherwise known as the moo cow. Being silly. I just had chocolate, sorry.
way too much, apparently. And we've also got a special guest here.
Joe Turek, and I've been on a number of these, so it's like I'm like a featured special guest, I
I
guess.
know you
There you
are.
go. There you go.
You've been on it the most out of all the special guests that we've had for this and Criterion Watch,
The
I believe.
Joeist with the mostest.
Exactly.
Uh,
However, the
well,
other
well,
Joe is catching up to you quickly, so be careful.
uh-oh. Well, I am a freak, so it's in here. Film freaks.
Here I
There
am
you
sipping
go.
on some hot chocolate. I've got my shirt on right here with the You'll Shoot Your Eye Out Christmas Story shirt.
I'm actually doing Snapple for the first time in quite a while. You know me, I'm almost always exclusively Coke Zero, but thought I'd do a little iced tea for a change.
There you
There
go.
you go.
And I wasn't sure if you're going to be able to see my shirt or not, but I guess there you can. So, but I want to have a background like Paul does. I don't like my background.
Your grandmother worked so hard on that shirt, Moody.
I know. Seriously, we got to show it off. All
You
right.
don't like you don't like you don't like my blurred background.
I like your blur background. It's you.
Although I did dress up for the
Oh,
part a
wait,
little bit
I
today.
can see letters in Joe's background. It's blurry, but I can see it. It says, drink more Ovaltine.
Drink more Ovaltine. Dude, wouldn't that suck if that's the
A commercial,
inscription you get?
a freaking commercial.
I
Uh
know. That's so typical, though.
So anyway, I wanted to show off that I have the Christmas Story 4K. I just bought this recently. It was like $10 at Best Buy on its Black Friday sale, so I had to grab that.
We probably
Fortunately,
all have different versions, I would think.
okay, well, what about you, Joe? How did you
I have a two-disc special edition. It's a 20th anniversary DVD. It's got like a it's not prettied up like the 4K, but it's 2D. It's got a lot of two disc, and it's got a lot of extras on here. Probably a lot of the extras that they carried over into the 4K, which has obviously a cleaner version and stuff like that. But yeah, lots of good stuff on here.
I think it's funny
So
because I think the 4K literally just is the 4K upgrade to it.
mhm.
Does not add anything extra other than the fact that it looked really pretty,
So
and
it does
stuff.
it didn't have like the uh talks about like narrates a new 20th anniversary documentary. It says Daisy Red Rider, history of the Red Rider BB gun, leg up about the leg lamp, and
hmm
it's
It's
got
got
it's
all of
got
that, but it's on the
okay,
Blu-ray. So
gotcha,
all of
yeah,
that's on the
that makes sense.
Blu-ray, and
Okay,
then the only special feature that's actually on the 4K itself is the commentary.
gotcha.
So
Oh yeah, and there's a commentary from Bob Clark on here
yeah,
also,
Bob Clark and Peter
yeah,
Billingsley.
yeah.
Um,
So
Paul, how did you watch it?
Well, I saw it in high school on the big screen. And after that, my generation pretty much saw it all the time around Christmas time. In fact, I think it was TBS
Well,
that would play it, or
we meant
somebody
like just now.
constantly.
Like, how did you watch it? To for this review, or do you just remember everything?
I remember everything, but I saw it about 8 months ago.
So
Um,
you remembered it from 8 months ago, like
yeah, I have
you
it on.
know?
Oh, yeah, dude, I've seen this movie so many times.
Okay. I mean, I have too, but I still wanted to like double, make sure and stuff in case there was things I missed or whatever.
oh yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It's like I finished. I just watched it right before the podcast here,
This,
but
I
I've seen it.
mean,
I've seen it hundreds of times,
and
literally.
every single time I watch this movie, I sit there in amazement, thinking that this is fucking Bob Clark. I still can't believe Bob Clark made this movie.
well, you know why they made this movie?
Well,
Because it was Porky's 2. They
Yeah.
had to do Pork.
yeah,
Porky's 2 needed to be greenlit, and he's like, okay, but he wanted this to be made, So he's like, okay, I'll do this. I'll do Porky's too if you'll fund this. And this only had like what $3.5 million budget, so
Yeah,
it
they
didn't
didn't
have much of a
really.
budget.
MGM didn't give a crap
This
about it.
is the guy who made Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things and Black Christmas. This is like the last guy
He's made
you
two
would
different
expect.
Christmas movies. Black Christmas and Christmas Story, and they're both exact opposites.
And then did Porky's, and it's like, what? This is the guy doing this wholesome Christmas, incredibly wholesome Christmas movie. It just didn't. I don't know. It wigs me out every time.
Didn't he do like at the end of his life? Unfortunately, he did like really bad like
He did like
children's
Oh,
movies.
Baby
Rhinestone,
Geniuses.
Yeah, the Baby
Rhinestone,
Geniuses,
Baby
That's not bad.
the
Geniuses.
Karate Dog. Oh, poor guy. He was
Yeah.
just
He was
at
pretty
that
much
at
doing
that rate. He was just
anything at
looking for
that point.
work. You know.
Yeah. He was doing everything at that point. He did write a few other interesting ones. Pimp and Pee Wee was a Porky's movie that he wrote, which I don't know that ever got made, but
It has. I've
it
seen
did.
it.
It did finally.
I've seen
Oh
it.
God!
It was on Tubi. I think yeah, it was like a sequel to Porky, but it's like a made for video type of. If it's
Right,
the one I'm
right,
thinking of, yeah.
right. That
It's on.
actually got
It was
made.
on Tubi a couple years ago. Yeah,
Oh
I mean
no!
it's older than a couple years,
It's
but
still on Tubi.
Oh
okay,
God!
it is. Yeah, it's awful. It's
I mean,
it's
he needed money, and at any time, and he would take anything at this rate. Especially if he
Right.
wanted to make Porky's 2, he had to do the nice holiday Christmas movie, and he does a great job. Like every shot is so good. It's a really well done family movie. In my opinion. And I'm
well
surprised, like I asked Paul, and I was surprised Paul was like, yeah, sure, I'll come on this episode because
Oh yeah.
this doesn't seem like the kind of movie you'd like, Paul.
Well, it was the way that it was done. I mean, this is not, even though it's kind of set up to be a very wholesome movie, it's kind of not. I mean, it's a twisted version of it because it's all done from Ralphie's weird kid's point of view, you know.
Well, as an
And
adult talking about it too,
as
like
an
he
adult
looks,
talking about it.
yeah.
well, are you talking about the soft glow of electric sex? When he talks about he's like, only one thing could pull me away from the soft glow of electric sex, when he was massaging the leg and stuff like that, and that was when the radio show came on. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's
I said the word fudge, only it wasn't fudge.
Gee.
Where did you hear that word?
But he also said it was
his-
like a 4-letter word, and he gave the word away. Like we knew what
Uh-huh.
what he meant, and everything. And maybe as a kid I didn't know because
Fart.
but I absolutely. So all right, so Paul, you said sort of you grew like you would see it on TV all the
Oh
time
yeah,
and everything.
high
That's how
school. I saw it when it came out in the theater, and it became a big, huge hit. And after that, yeah, TBS would play it constantly. And as I
It was not a big
remember,
hit in the theater though. Like it did not make a lot of money.
right.
No.
But
It
I
made
mean,
more
I think
money
it-
later.
for my
I think it made
friends,
like a 20 or something like
amongst
that.
my
less than
friends,
20.
it was a big hit. But as I recall, there was a TV station, I think is in Florida, that around Christmas time would play it for 24 hours. And it would just be playing constantly. So around Christmas time, all you had to do, that's why I didn't own the damn thing for years, because you just turn it on and around Christmas and there it is. It's like Charlie Brown Christmas. You never had to buy it because whenever it was Christmas time, you would turn
Oh,
it
now
on.
you do because Apple Plus has bought all of the Peanut
And
stuff.
screwed
So
everybody.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now they don't play any of the Peanut stuff. You have to actually go stream it.
So you saw this first run in the theaters as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I did as well. I did also. I guess there was a thing with my parents with taking me to see Bob Clark films in the theaters because I saw Porky's in the theaters. It's like a
They took you to see Porky's?
Yeah,
the
we
fuck
talked
outta
about that on
here.
a previous podcast.
Damn.
Yeah, my mom was misled, thinking that it was like a high school comedy, and she thought Porky Pig was
It
innocent.
was a high school comedy.
Wait, you thought she thought Porky was Porky Pig?
She crossed up a couple things, thinking it was okay, And then well,
Wow.
I was 9 at the time, and my brothers were in there too,
Oh
and they
my
were like,
God.
that was like what, 6 and 4
Dude,
or something like
I
that.
I was a freshman in high school, and I'm telling you what, man, this movie when Porky's came out, it had a really it was the
Hmm.
reputation it had was raunchy lowest common denominator. It was not considered a
Yeah,
good movie at all, but
yeah.
it was the kind of movie that every 14 and 15 and 16-year-old kid
Uh-huh.
wanted to see.
Yeah.
Every one
So
of them.
it was a different time. So it's like my parents was like we're here now, and we're gonna have a discussion afterwards.
How dare.
Oh God.
So
You learn
well,
the
not
birds and the bees from that
n-
movie.
not necessarily that way. I pretty much already knew because I saw Friday the 13th before that. So uh
So you
they
saw Kevin Bacon getting it on.
I know, right? So
Joe Turek, what
they
kind of childhood did you have?
I know, seriously.
no, actually, yeah, she they it was I can't blame a thing. I love that the way that they raised me. They raised me strictly, but at the same time, they would they I earned the right to see stuff like that, and so I mean it was
I mean,
they nice. Yeah,
I
it's different than now. I mean, it's not like the shoot 'em up violent stuff
yeah,
now.
I can't judge because I was even younger and I got taken to an all night uh, drive-in where I saw starting off with the classic zombie movie. God, I can't remember the
Night of
name.
the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead, and it we cycled through a whole bunch of horror movies, and then the very last thing, the midnight movie, was Behind the Green Door.
Oh, yeah. So
I learned a lot.
yeah. Yeah, well, at that moment after seeing Porky's, they were a little bit more cognizant of what was going on with some of the movies for a few years.
Yeah.
So
Now after
like
that, they
yeah,
changed their tune.
like Best Little Whorehouse in Texas came out, and they were like, no, no, and actually
Well, that's
that's much
tame.
tamer.
That
That
was
tame
tame as hell.
relation to like Porky's and stuff like that. So yeah, it just
It
they've
just has
had
the word
open
whorehouse
communication,
in it, so you
open
got to be
Well,
communication
careful.
with
as
me.
soon as you see
Yeah,
Dolly Parton in there, you know it's going to be tame and lame and freaking vanilla as
yeah.
hell. Come on.
But
So yeah, they had good conversations with me afterwards, and uh it was a learning experience, I must say, very quite enjoyable. And then when Christmas Story came out, it was like it was like, yeah, we got to see this. And I mean, and we all went and saw it. So we were in Florida at the time and saw it there, and I've seen it a number of other times. And a couple years ago, I saw it in the theaters again. I think I told you guys about this before, but Amber got me tickets at the Narrow, and we went and saw this and It's a Wonderful Life on a double feature on Christmas Eve. So
nice.
great double feature. I mean, just two of
Nice.
the quintessential Christmas movies to see. The only thing I think
Well,
they could have made it better would have been to see Christmas Story and Christmas Vacation together. But
it's
It's a Wonderful
it's
Life's great too. So
it's interesting because what this movie reminds me of, this actually reminds me a lot of a later movie that actually Woody Allen does, Radio Days. It's not Christmas oriented, but the whole conceit of going back into your childhood and discussing these formative things that happen and how interesting they are, and to go back and to set the movie in that genre with all the very similar time period with very similar clothing and very similar music and all the same stuff. I mean, that was kind of like a thing. I think there were a couple other movies that also came out in the 80s, and both of those movies were really, really good. And you'd never think I'd ever talk about Woody Allen and Bob Clark in the same sentence, but there you go. I
Well,
mean,
they're different filmmakers, but they're both very, very good,
mhm.
mhm.
at what they do. I like I'm a different generation than you guys,
Seth
so
Green.
I was actually born a year earlier than this movie came out. So like, I was one when
Wow.
this movie came out. And so like, yeah, it was on TV it's still on TV on TBS and whatnot all the time, or TNT. But
Each and
my
one is
parents used to
posted
have
on
it on
the
Betamax. So we would watch it when it wasn't on those specific times, because a lot of times it was on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and Christmas Eve and Christmas Day we're not watching Christmas movies necessarily. That's the weirdly enough we watched those during the weekly or the weeks leading up to Christmas, not on
Mhm.
Christmas Day. We're concentrating on family then,
It's
you know.
interesting because my childhood before this movie came out was very, very different. I grew up with two classic Christmas movies. The first one was, of course, the Peanuts one, which everybody loves. And then the other thing, the movie that scared the living fuck out of me and that got me into horror movies in the first place when I was a little kid, was the old 1948 black and white Scrooge movie.
Uh,
That was flipping. It was one of the most beautifully shot movies, and the ghost in Christmas Past there scared the shit out of me. And it's a very gothic shot 40s film, and it's really one of the movies that got me into horror way back in the day. And those two movies are sort of set my Christmases up until this movie came along, and all of a sudden there was a brand new classic to wedge in there. Now you can't see any of that stuff on TV. It's a shame.
no, well, everything's so streaming now. Like nothing's really on. Do people even have like my parents have TV still, but most people don't even have like
Well,
satellite, you
no
know.
point.
Yeah, the streaming is, I mean, plus,
Mhm.
if you watch like Showtime or Paramount Plus or a few of the other ones, they have live television on there. So you already get,
Mhm.
television if you want it on streaming. And so, it's like, what's the use of doing, satellite when we can already stream everything and it costs, you know, relatively cheaper if you.
Well, and it's weird too because we're in an era. Maybe it's not so much for you, but for someone like me and maybe even Joe, the whole thing with watching episodic television was the idea you watched a show and then you had to wait a week for it to come out,
Mhm.
sometimes 2 weeks, and you're like waiting and waiting and waiting. Nowadays, you just binge everything, bada boom. There's no waiting, you know.
And see, and I think I still have that youth in me where that discipline of wanting to wait. So because I know around the house here, they're she's wanting to watch like everything back to back, like binge it and stuff like that. And for me, I'm like, no, let's do one a night or one and let let it breathe a little bit because
Right.
that's the discipline that I've had ingrained into me over the
And
years.
it was
It,
better, I think. I mean,
mhm,
even when Buffy was coming out, I remember being so
mhm,
excited about the next week, and I couldn't wait for next week to come around. It was
mhm.
the anticipation of it made the experience even better.
And
Especially
this,
when
yeah,
there's
this,
like a cliffhanger, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's a cliffhanger that happens and all of a sudden you're like, damn, like I,
Right.
I want to know what's gonna happen. And
Star
then
Trek
Yeah.
Next Generation would be were the masters at that, where they would end on this huge, important cliffhanger, and you had to wait till the whole next season.
mm,
Yeah, the show let the shows them marinate and stuff like that. Now it's more about immediate gratification
Yeah.
and 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 I think that's why movies like this, to where there's such a nostalgic, non-nostalgic, but also in a child in a boy's eye. So it's like it lets me sort of think of. I mean, I wasn't a child of the. There's arguments of whether this took place in the 30s or 40s, somewhere in that area, which we could talk
I
about.
think they said
But
40s and the
Yeah,
yeah,
30s.
late 40s is what I think it is.
but there's like contradictions with some of the factual stuff of whether it's in the
Well,
later or but in any
I'm sure
case
there's
it's
a
like
little
I
continuity errors with things, you know.
Well,
yeah uh,
it's post 19, it's post World War II. I can tell you that much.
yeah but because some of the football references with some of the other stuff that's going on with some of the like the chattering teeth is like late 40s when that got invented, so little things here and there, but it took place in that time period. So anyways, for me, I think of nostalgic stuff. I'm like thinking late 70s early 80s when I was growing up, so it's like but I can ex- Ralphie's journey, if you will, of wanting that one present, thinking of how the whole world, the magic of the world, and how it comes crumbling down, like with the Ovaltine thing and stuff like that. There's so much stuff that resonates within me that makes this movie magical.
So, Joe, what toy from your childhood would have been your Red Ryder BB gun that you can remember?
I think I really probably the bicycle was a Huffy back in the day.
Ah, okay.
That was really big. Getting my Nintendo, I think, was really big. That was probably about 15 or so then. So and then well, I can't go without. I mean, from age of 5 to like 12, it was all variety of Star Wars stuff. I mean, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna get my Death Star, or I'm gonna get
Nice.
this or that, or so there was a few different things. I think the bicycle probably was because then I could the ones that had like the little pad on it, the one little dirt bike type thing, and
What about you, Moody? What was your Red Ryder BB gun?
All right, so this is a bad story, but I'm gonna tell it anyway because fuck it. This is honesty time or whatever. I was a spoiled little brat. I still am, a
What a
spoiled little brat.
surprise.
What a surprise.
really
And I really,
shocking.
really wanted a Game Gear, Sega Game Gear, when that came out, the little
Sega.
portable Sega games and stuff. And so I ran for the first present that I thought was what was it? And it was like a genie, Aladdin genie thing, figurine or whatever, action figure. And I got so mad I threw it across the room.
Oh
And my
man.
friend Josh was walking in to give us presents at the time, literally, and almost got hit by a flying,
Flying
action
genie.
figure. And my parents like scolded me and pretty much like, and they
That
weren't gonna give me that present, or
that
whatever.
that
But
that
at
that
the
was that was
end,
that was a little bratish behavior there, huh?
I know it was
Damn.
terrible. It was terrible. It was the worst moment of my life. It was
You
not
got to
something
write that in
I'm proud
somewhere
of.
in a script.
Um, yeah, maybe at some point. So anyway, they pulled the thing with that Ralphie's parents did, where they gave me the present at the end when all the other presents were gone, and I thought I didn't get it, and I and my parents were actually told me years later that they were like, we were thinking about us not giving that to you, but like because of that attitude, and I probably shouldn't have, like that, looking back at it.
You would have
I mean,
learned a
I wouldn't have
lesson.
given it to me, but that's them. They're
Well,
sweet.
well, Paul, what was yours?
Well, remember, while I was a teenager in the early '80s, I was a child of the '70s. So the two big things that I remember that I really wanted as a kid from that period, number one was Rock'em Sock'em Robots. I don't know whether you guys ever saw those or had those. Those were
I remember, I
awesome,
remember
A
them.
little,
Yeah,
awesome.
their little hands.
yeah,
And
they need
then
little extensions.
the other thing is, I really wanted one of those electronic football games where you had the little figures and the little cutout uh, styrofoam footballs, and you turned them
I,
on, and they vibrated, and they went in completely random directions and didn't do shit.
I still have mine.
Get
I
out of
still have.
here!
I still have it. The big electric board is probably about what 4 or
Wow.
5 feet, 4 feet long, and I have like there's like three teams of players I still have.
They're
I don't think I have
all
the football anymore.
terrible, but they turned them into drinking games. I remember when I was in college, they were all drinking games using those things. It was funny. That
Yeah.
and Hungry Hungry Hippos. I love that too.
Oh
Hungry
yeah,
Hungry
yeah. We had
Hippos. I think I had a Hungry Hungry Hippos.
I remember I was on a project out in West Virginia, and we were all looking for weird, goofy shit to do late at night, and there was a thrift store nearby, and I just happened to see that there were Hungry Hungry Hippos games, so I bought it for like $2, and then I got a some paint, and I painted all of them white, and then I got a Sharpie, and I did cow splotches on them, and it became Hungry Hungry
nice.
Holsteins.
Nice.
And you were thrift. That was nostalgic thrift shopping at the very
Yep,
beginning of time there for you. There
yep,
you go.
it was fun.
That was a precursor to your later years where
Exactly.
that's all you do now. Um, pretty much or whatever. That's nice. I don't know. It's funny looking back at this movie because yeah, I never wanted a gun. Never wanted a BB gun.
Yeah, it's funny.
Never had no interest
I
in
always
that.
had a cap gun or
Yeah, I had a cap gun
those little whiz things you could shoot.
or a squirt gun, but I never had a
Squirt
Yeah.
gun.
wanted to have a
The
real rifle kind of thing
the,
because
Yeah,
the little Nerf guns that shot those little puff pellets or whatever. Those were
right.
kind of fun.
yeah,
Yeah. No,
but
I got shot in the leg by a BB gun, and after that experience, I'm like, yeah, I don't want any real things. That hurt is like hell.
yeah, that doesn't sound like fun,
No.
you know. I never even asked for like paint guns or anything, like to paint paintball guns, or whatever. So I'm just To me, it's the guns were not really my thing unless, yeah, cap guns or something. Even then, we were very careful because we were hearing stories. This is the 90s, remember, and we were hearing stories of kids being shot because they had guns that looked like they were real, and
Well,
everything like
shit,
that.
you couldn't even have lawn darts there for a while. There were kids that got killed
Oh
from
yeah,
lawn darts.
Yeah.
those things are dangerous though.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a cap gun thing that I had as a kid, where you had to put that little, you had the little wrap paper thing, and you put through it and had the like little piece of
And they
pop
were
and
red.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I had that for like a cap gun type thing as a kid.
I've
But yeah, those lawn darts. Oh my gosh, those things were
They were
nuts.
sharp.
So
Yeah.
another thing in this movie is the bully stuff, which
Oh, yeah.
always happened to a lot of kids and everything, and that
Hmm.
seems to be a timeless thing. I've actually interviewed Zach Ward, the the guy who played Scut Farkus, and God, that name, man, like nobody else is gonna have that name. That is an original. I've never heard,
Or the bumpuses. That's the other name.
the Bumpuses.
And
But
I think was it Scott Farkus, from what I was reading, wasn't in the original stories and stuff like that. It was a created character that was on top of the original story
okay, so
added
Bob
and stuff
Clark
like that.
added him.
Yeah, so because Clark, I think, found he thought of this when he was on a date or something like that of this movie, and then he got with I guess the original writer of the short stories to put it all together into something
Yeah,
bigger.
that was what I heard. He said he was listening to them on tape, like in his car, and they were going too long, like further than he thought it was. So he just kept looping around his dates, like thing until he was over the thing, and then he picked her up, and she was very mad after that. Understandably, like you're late to pick me up. So, but I think that's sort of cute and funny story is like years later he could talk about that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't think he was thinking about that at the time.
It's funny because remember we just did the oh God, what is the movie? The Scottish movie that we did with Joe,
Oh, Comfort and Joy.
Comfort and Joy, and it opens up with those little kids at the department store window, and they've got all their faces pressed up against it, and they're watching the candy being made and watching the Santa Clauses and all that stuff, and
Kind
it's
of
got
reminded me of
yeah, it's very similar kind of feeling going on there.
to the beginning of
Well,
the movie.
I remember that as a kid going to the stores and looking at that, or going to
Winnowmakers.
yeah, and getting those catalogs with all the different toys in it and stuff like that. And there's a
Mhm.
magical sense to that. And I mean, and
Sure.
that's what Christmas as a child was, and I think
Or
that's what is
if you
captured here so
were
well.
lucky enough and you got to one of those giant department stores that had a huge train set up and you got to see the
Oh
trains
yeah.
going all the way around and all
Yeah,
the
and that's what I liked.
dioramas.
You got to see that in this movie too, so it was very nostalgic for that. But also, you got to see a freaking mall, which they really don't have those much anymore. Like not like they used to.
Mm.
Like it used to be fun. You could go to the mall, you go to Toys R Us or KB Toys or
All Amazon now.
yeah, everything's Amazon or Target or Walmart or whatever, kind of thing. And it's not as much fun anymore to like buying gifts. Buying gifts feels like, okay, we bought it online and now it's coming to
Mhm.
us. Okay, great.
Well, and it
Yeah.
used to be kids had to write their letters to Santa and post them in the mail, and you had to actually be good or have to worry about being good anyway. And or you had to worry about getting coal in your stocking and stuff like that. It's just that age is gone.
Has any of you guys gotten coals in your stocking?
Yeah, I
No?
did.
You did?
Uh-huh.
Your parents actually put coal in your stocking?
We did
Oh
once.
my God, they've never done that
Now
to
Did,
me.
I
did,
I
did
got
you
a
deserve
real
it?
stocking to go with it, but yeah.
Oh, so
Um,
they did a fake stocking and then said,
Yeah.
Here's your, what okay, fine, we'll actually give you the real." That's sort of a
I've got
mean fake out.
I got like little jokester little things and given that before of like the little bags of coal or and stuff like that. But
Well, it's interesting because, and I guess everybody is different, but our family, our tradition was always you got to open your stocking Christmas Eve. So,
Right.
you had a big Christmas Eve dinner and everybody got their stocking. So, that particular one I had two because the first one was like, what? You know.
We've always done where you open one present on
That's what I
Christmas
got.
Eve and everything. But what we do now, and we've done for like a long time, this is like since I've been a grown up at least. We've done like a what is it, where you buy a Secret Santa kind of thing, but I don't
Mhm.
know if that's what it's necessarily called. You don't no, Yankee Swap is what it's called. And so you just kind of put your you buy a $10 to $15 present, right? You wrap it
Mhm.
up, you put it in the pile of other wrapped up presents, and then you have to you pick a number one through how many people are there. And the first person gets to go first and last. So that's the one to actually have is number one, because you could pick
Mhm.
whatever. But if you have two, you're screwed because the only thing you can grab is whatever the other person has or pick another present. So that's what we've
Yeah.
done for forever, and it's been
I've
awesome.
I've always loved Secret Santa because I always like giving more than I like receiving because I never really get what I want anyway. It doesn't really matter. I like, especially if I know someone pretty well and I'm their Secret Santa, they don't know it. I like finding them something really cool, because it shows them that I've paid attention and I know what they like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm really bad at that anyway. Like I can't like I don't know what to get a lot of people sometimes, so I just I ask around maybe, but like what does somebody want? But I'm terrible at that. So I Secret Santa is not my cup of tea, but
Well,
Yankee Swap
Paul,
is.
so for Paul, I know I definitely want to go get him like tickets to see a new movie in a Hollywood movie in the theater or something like that.
Yeah. Marvel movie, right?
Exactly. See, there you go.
The latest woke Marvel reimagination.
Well, if we were getting something for Paul, it'd be tickets to go see Oppenheimer or
Yeah,
something like
I'd
that,
love to see Oppenheimer. I haven't seen it yet.
Mine would be more of a jab at it, but well, yeah, yeah. So well,
Yeah, you
Oppenheimer.
go make
I
him
think
go
that
see Aquaman too.
yeah, there you go. Well, and I think they put Oppenheimer back out in the theaters in IMAX for like a couple weeks. So stuff like that. I mean
And
that's just that's
for
a whole different
Joe, we'd
story. I
have
mean
to get him the 4K version of Magic Lizard so he could watch that water buffalo in all graphic detail.
that
Problem is with doing stuff like that, you'd have to force him to watch it because he could just bring it home and throw it in the trash. Um,
uh,
Paul tends to get gifts that he knows. Like sometimes he gets joke gifts. He got me like a couple of years ago, got me Neil Breen shirt I still have,
I
with
remember that. I remember you
bunch of
Great
saying
heads
that.
shirt.
on it. Uh,
And
like
I was
thanks.
yeah, and I was gonna say that you maybe get like the pink bunny outfit like he had Christmas Story, but in all honesty, that in the movie that was done out of love because I mean it really was his aunt who I guess it was the aunt
She
who
made
believed
it.
that yeah she made it, but I mean she always thought he was like treated
And
her like a little
it's
girl. But
always funny because, 9 out of 10 kids are going to get that and be horrified by it. But I was
mhm.
that weird 10th kid. I'd be like, woohoo! I'd wear the shit out of that thing, man.
Because you
Well,
like to troll
yeah,
people, so
I
you would run
do.
around like if you thought somebody would get that for you as like a gag gift, you just wear it just to piss them off because they
Exactly,
thought,
which is why people, anyone who knew me, any relative who knew me, would never give me that
yeah, because then they'd have to force to watch
because
you
they
wear
knew.
it.
he looks like a deranged Easter bunny.
Paul would love it. Paul would love that. If
Hell
you gave him
yeah,
that as a onesie, he'd wear it
absolutely. I'd wear it every
proudly.
day. I'd bounce
Um,
around. Be so much fun. Pester everybody.
oh
Well,
Lord. Uh,
you bounce around in it. There we go.
I would be a deranged Donnie Darko.
that's true. Pink
Wow.
deranged Donnie Darko. Um,
So Moody, what was I mean I understand the greatness of this movie and stuff like that. For me, what was the pull that really made you want to do this one?
Oh, for this? Well, first of all, it's
Yeah.
Christmas, so it's Christmas time. So
Hmm.
I figured we haven't done a Christmas movie for Film Freaks in a while, and I don't know. I mean, there's so many Christmas movies we could have chose.
Comfort and Joy was mine.
I know Paul chose Comfort and Joy for his Film Freaks, for his Christmas version, and I was like, what? what could I do? And stuff. So I suggested, like, I've thought about it, and I said, well, we hadn't done Christmas Story yet. And Christmas Story was one of those movies that I always watched all the time.
Mhm.
And literally, like, had it not been $10 at Best Buy, it'd been like $15, $20. Probably wouldn't have picked it up. I picked it up because it was cheap there, because yeah, it was playing on TV all this whole week, already, so I
And the
could have
thing
watched it.
about this movie is that it's one of those great universal films that everybody, no matter even young kids, can see this movie and understand it and get behind it. I don't know of a single soul in my life that I've ever heard say, "Oh, I hate this movie." It's just one of those movies. You know
I
what I
have,
mean?
actually, and here's, like, people don't say they hate it necessarily. Maybe they say they don't like it like everybody else likes it or something. Like Steve Rudzinski brought that up, like, and in one of his posts, that
I thought I read somewhere recently. Yeah, so Steve.
yeah, Steve was just saying that basically, he thinks that most people, and this is a good topic of conversation to think about, but like, he thinks that most people have a fondness for this memory because it was played so much,
Yes,
and
yes.
everything. And that is why they have a fondness for it, because not because they like it necessarily and think it's a great movie, but because they remember seeing it
Yeah,
so
there's
much.
there's
It's
definitely a level of nostalgia for this for people of a
Mhm.
certain age.
So I think
Yeah,
he
that
said it was not that great of a movie necessarily, and I disagreed with him on
Yeah,
that,
I
oh,
because I
disagree with
think
absolutely,
him
yeah.
it's
too.
I think it's a fantastic
I
movie.
disagree with him too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
but
this movie resonates so much with me, and that's before it may have been quote unquote overplayed or whatever. But yeah, I mean, this was way before it was even popular to like this movie. I mean, it was part of who I. It's just so representative of what I envision the
Still
the
better than
the idea
Porky's.
of
That was
Christmas.
his most, probably his biggest grossing film.
yeah.
Well, yeah,
Um,
Porky's was top 25 in the box office for a number of years. I mean, it was yeah, that was huge. And this one, like I said, made less than 20. But it's uh,
But this is the one that's gone on to be played every year and everybody has a copy of.
yep.
mhm,
And
yeah.
as they should, because it's still one of those movies. Like I said, we had it on Betamax. We did watch it. Sometimes, I mean, honestly, I could say you could watch this non-Christmas time. You could watch in July if you wanted to, because really the movie isn't just about Christmas.
Mhm.
It's about family and getting together and spending time, and it just gives you a good feeling. Like,
Hmm.
I weirdly enough, this is another thing that Paul may not know about me, but I like movies that take place in the snow. You know, I've said I like movies on, like, on ships and stuff in the sea. I like movies
Hmm.
in the snow. Like, I like movies that take place. I don't like the cold. Everybody knows that about me. I hate the cold. I get colds all the time, and I just don't feel good in colds. And I get cold very easily. Um, but I love movies about it. So I adore this movie for that, you know.
And here's another kind of a weird point since you're bringing up a weird point. I'll give you one about me. I had the hugest crush on Melinda Dillon back when she was in the Spielberg movie,
Close Encounters.
Close Encounters.
Okay.
I will never, as long as I live, forget her and her little shorts and her blonde hair and just how fantastically gorgeous she was. Then, and I'm still a teenager, I see her as a mom, as a frumpy, kind of frumpy-ish mom, and it wigged the hell out of me. I'm like, wait a second, how did you go from that to this? That's like not fair. I
Well,
Um,
remember being
it's funny
irritated by that.
you mentioned the hair, and that's kind of funny because I think that when I talk with Amber about it, she's like, the one thing about this movie that always gets me is her hair is not the 40s, it's the 80s. Her hair is like in the 80s or something like that, and it's true. But it's
Her
like
hair's
I'm like,
glorious.
I'm like, but it's been Melinda Dillon. It's
yeah, it's
fine.
Melinda Dillon. Like, she
Glorious.
has to have her hair like that. Come on
Right.
now.
Right.
Regardless of continuity
So I
error.
would watch any movie like Slapshot. She was in Slapshot. She
Hmm.
was in a bunch of other movies. I watched anything with Melinda Dillon. Had a massive
Unfortunately,
crush.
sh- she wasn't the mom in the newest sequel that they did. which was like more or less like what everybody actually thinks is the real Christmas Story sequel, which is like a Christmas Story Christmas or something like that.
Mhm.
I never went near any of the
Uh,
sequels. I knew they'd be
that
terrible.
The one,
surprisingly
the
so, the
yeah,
newest one
the
is
Max
really good.
one, the Max one was really was it. I mean, it doesn't nowhere near compare to this one, the
No,
original,
no,
but it's a worthy watch,
it's
and
got a lot of the same heart, you know.
yeah, yeah, and unfortunately, Melinda Dillon was declining. I think her health. I don't know if that's exactly the reason, because I mean, she's since passed, I believe. But
Yeah, she passed
I
like a
yeah,
know
few months
that
after the
broke
yeah,
movie
my
came
heart.
out or something.
yeah, yeah. So they had what Julie Haggerty played the mom in the
Oh,
sequel, but
Julie Haggerty, which I love her too. Like
mhm.
she's
Yeah,
always
so
she always plays a great mom, like in What About Bob and what's the other one, Just Friends. Like she's so
mhm.
I always think she's just the
Yeah,
cutest, you
yeah, she
know.
has a very quirky presence.
Yeah.
Um,
She
and
wasn't Melinda Dillon. She wasn't trying to play it like Melinda Dillon, which was good.
mhm.
I wouldn't have
Yeah,
wanted her to try to be just like that mom, you know, but she did her own version of it, and I
Well,
thought she
and
mhm.
then points out to one of my favorite actors, Darren McGavin, as old man Parker, Dad. He was fabulous, and he's another one who, I mean, I knew him from Night Stalker.
right.
And to have him turn into this was a very jarring experience when
Well,
I saw
do
this
you
in the
want to
theater.
hear even something even jarringer? Do you
Jarring
know who
her.
was Jarringer? Do you know who
Jarringer,
was the first pick?
I,
the original pick.
Yeah,
Was
I
it
think
Jack
Paul doesn't
Nicholson?
know this. What?
I thought it was Jack Nicholson, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
Jack Nicholson was the
Yeah,
first pick. Could
yeah.
you imagine Jack Nicholson in that role? That would have been very jarring.
That would have been
Like
very
you would have
jarring.
been like, I see The Shining, and then a couple years later, like he's not the same
Yeah, that's
guy.
a
I,
whole other layer of subtext that they couldn't get past.
yeah. Well, and I think that the two that they have for the parents are just perfect, because it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
his presence. I mean, nobody else could be the old man. And then
no,
Melinda Dillon. I mean, she what could have been, as a mom, they could have just written it down, but she was very well thought out, and she was very articulate, and very much in control of the house. I mean, she was very she ran things. She kept everything going and all. And I think that
Mhm.
was a very well in depth character that was written there.
And a big shout out to Peter Billingsley. Usually I cannot stand child actors or movies about kids in general, but he was great in this film. He was absolutely fantastic as far as acting goes. Everything about him was just about perfect in this film. He was fantastic.
and he kind of grew up to like right after this movie, you think like his career would skyrocket or whatever, but then he was in movies like The Dirt Bike Kid, which was like not very, very good. Later he was in Arcade, and now
Hey,
like I since then I think because the movie grew to be this huge thing, and he kind of is really good at I'm sure he's really good at networking. He became really good friends with Vince Vaughn and John Favreau and those guys, and then he started producing their movies.
Yeah,
So
doesn't he works a lot with Jason Bateman, I believe, too.
yeah,
Yeah, so does he direct too, or
he
write?
does
yeah, he
directs as
did.
well.
He
Yep.
Yeah,
did.
I believe he does both. And yeah, he's there he captured the essence of what 9, 10 year old boy. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfectly.
in
Yeah.
this,
He
and
was he was the exact a nerdy of 9-year-old kid who all he dreams all day is having a Red Ryder BB gun because that's just the one thing he wants for Christmas, and he's not stopping until he gets it somehow. And he's even gonna tell Santa. Oh wait, no, he can't tell Santa. Santa scares everybody apparently, which I'm like, really? Like, I don't know. We never we
and
never
talk
had like
and talk about
that
yeah,
kind
and
of
talk about and
just
those elves were pretty evil too.
they were
Just
just mean little
yeah.
guys,
Oh, they were wanting to get off work, and then one of the best
or
lines is like,
girls too.
yeah, about smelling. He's like, I hate the smell of tapioca. It's like, what is going on here? Yeah, it's just the mall, the whole mall environment was just
Yeah, that the
it,
whole
Yeah.
like that whole snow that he falls into is just like so weird. Like I don't know what that was necessarily, just fluff that he fell
And
into.
I think the other thing is Ian Petrella tends to get overlooked as Randy Parker. Randy was really, really funny too, even though he had a smaller role. I mean, people remember him, just always being in like 75 layers and I can't put my arms down. I mean, just the way he did it was just so funny.
Well, it's because people sort of like empathize with that or sympathize with that because they were kids at one point and they
Mhm.
had that overcoat that they couldn't put their arms down or whatever. And the mom's just like, you can put your arms down when you get to school,
Right,
and he's just
right.
like, "Ah," or he falls and he can't get up, like, because
Mm,
he's, he's too. I liked Randy.
Randy was
Uh,
great.
sadly, in the sequel that we're talking about, they really did not give him anything, and I was really disappointed because I thought he'd have a bigger, because he had a pretty good part in Christmas
Mhm.
Story. Like he was there for a lot of Ralphie's stuff,
Right, right.
but they, I guess maybe the actor just couldn't really make it for very long, so they had him be calling, Ralphie, and I think he showed up for like a little bit, but there was really not much to do with him. And I was like, oh, it's kind of sad. It's like, why? But they were trying to put everybody in the movie,
Mhm.
in that one, because they never did that for any of the sequels before.
Mm.
So trying to put Scott Farkus became a cop, by the way, in
Oh,
the
yeah,
sequel.
that makes sense.
It does. I think when he got beat up, he's talked about how he got beat up by Ralphie, and that changed his life and changed his perspective on things and made him, look at being a better person and things like that, which they
He
did not explore that in the actual movie, in the first movie,
he
you know.
he didn't just get beat up. I mean, he was bloodied and just pummeled. I
Yeah,
mean,
he was
Ralphie
had
just
blood like all down his face like that. Like, ugh.
because was it Randy like runs a couple houses down and gets the mom, and the mom comes back and Ralphie's still wailing around on
Oh
her.
yeah. And he's
It's like
saying
wow.
apparently all the stuff that he was saying
Hmm.
was written, every single word was written by Gene Shepard and put onto a cue card where he had to
Nice,
read every single thing. Actually, no, I take that back. He had to memorize. This is what he said in the commentary. He had to memorize every
nice.
single one of those, whatever,
Well,
he had to have
maybe that's
all of
why he
that.
was, and maybe that's why he was crying. Then, jeez, to have to remember
Well,
all
and it's
that.
funny because Darren McGavin, the old man, does the same thing, just in the basement trying to put his stupid furnace together, and
Oh,
he's
he's
chip off
in,
the old block.
yeah, he's exactly like his old man,
Yeah.
and that was when their car breaks down and
I
he
mean,
gets to help, and right before he says fudge and he, like, screws all that up. That was such a cool scene because, like, how many kids have wanted to try and help their father out and do that? Oh my God, I get the chance to go do that.
Yeah,
Like, and the
it's their rite
father
of
looks up and
passage.
goes, "What do you want?"
It's a
the the
it's his rite of passage in the
the
growing
the
out of
Yeah.
a little boy.
details are really, really good, and it's a very, very well written. It's an excellently written screenplay. That's probably the number one reason why the movie works so well. Gene Shepard
Mhm.
did a fantastic job with
Yeah,
this script.
That
yeah. And a
house
lot
is
of
still available, by the way. Like, people can, it's like a museum now. So people
Mhm.
can go there and see the leg lamp that we didn't
Nice.
mention, and you can see all that stuff, even though I don't know why you can see the leg lamp. It broke.
Yeah,
And
it should be buried in the backyard because they play taps. Remember, he thought he
yeah,
heard the sound of taps in the background.
Ho
I
ho
guess somebody put
ho.
one up there just to, just to give the illusion
Mhm.
that the house is still like it used to be,
Yeah, I think
And
that when I first saw the movie, there were so many great moments, but when I first saw the film in the theater, that was probably my favorite part when he waiting in line all this time to see Santa Claus, and he finally gets up there and he asks the Santa for what he wants, and even the Santa's like, "You'll shoot your eye out, kid," and then he pushes him down with his foot and goes, "Oh, ho, ho."
Dude,
Great moment.
did you
Great
notice how he
moment.
climbed up that slide? I
Yeah.
was like, it was like almost like Spider-Man shit. He was like, and
well,
I was like, damn.
and that shows his passion for what he really wanted. That
Oh yeah,
he's like I can't mess this up. I got to get it right.
yeah.
And yeah, he fought his way back up, and then just to be told that, it's just he was just defeated. He was so defeated at that moment.
Yeah, and then
I
he
feel
like lands at the bottom, he's just like plump.
Yeah.
It was funny. It
Um,
was so
and,
good.
and and you're talking about Gene Shepard in the writing of it. In the and I'm thinking of the narration. And there's a lot of movies that come out that when it's narrated, I think that's kind of an easy way out in filmmaking is to do narration. But I think in this one, it's just done with such wit and just so the just the Randy, he lays there like a slug, and it's just like a cut to him. I mean, all the different. It
Well,
was just so
they were
well rounded.
very wise in allowing the writer to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's him who's doing it because he you know how to, when you write, you're writing in a particular voice. He is the voice of the screenplay,
Yep.
and so
Hmm.
he was and since he's also an actor, he was the perfect guy to choose for that. So that was a
Was
brilliant.
Gene Shepard an actor as well?
Yeah, he did some acting too.
Okay,
Well,
cool.
I think, and I think he is the guy that's in line in the mall. He actually has a cameo when they're going to see Santa, and it's like, no, the line's not here. The line's back there. I
Hmm.
believe that's Gene Shepard, if I
Oh
remember what I read
wow,
a while back.
that's cool.
Here's a question.
And Bob Clark even has a cameo in it too. He's
Here's
the
a question. Who is that super creepy kid with the weird braces? I like Santa.
oh, with the goggles.
Yeah, I like reindeer. Whatever
Well,
the other
I
thing he
think
says.
what that demonstrated was the fact that there's always going to be that person in
Serial
line that talks
killer.
to you, and you just don't are not interested in talking to the person, and
I
you're like,
still wet my
yeah.
pants.
Who is Bob Clark played Joe?
I believe he's the guy who acknowledges the lamp when Darren McGavin comes out. The neighbor's Swede, I think his name is. He's like, don't bother me. It's a prize or something like
Oh
that.
yeah,
But
okay.
he's the neighbor that's right there. That's Bob
Ah,
That's
Clark.
funny.
Yeah, so it's always cool when the director and or the writer and stuff like that can fit in there and do something, but not affect really the story itself, and not
Right, it's not
it's not
like,
called out.
it's but it's not a Hitchcock, he's not in the background or whatever. He
right.
actually has a part in a line or whatever.
Yeah, it
Uh,
kept the flow going, and it kept the flow of whatever that part of the story was.
I
And
wonder
I
if he
mean,
did that because he didn't have anybody else or if he wanted to just play that part. I wonder if that
yeah,
what the decision for that was because I didn't get to any of those parts in the commentary, but it'd been fun to hear Bob Clark go, "Oh, there's me. Oh God."
yeah, because I don't know if this is the only movie he did that, or if he had cameos and other stuff. Who knows? I mean, but yeah,
Yeah.
and this it was kind of funny. I mean, it's like, I mean, if those are the little things, the little Easter eggs you find in films, especially ones that you love so much
Right.
that make them that
Details.
much better. Yeah.
Details matter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They really do.
There was a lot of detail, but this also once again is like a $3 million film, and so they have the money, and $3 million in 1983 was a lot more money than in 3 million now. So it's probably close to 10 million, I would say, something like that. So you look at that and you go, okay, so he had $10 million to make this movie, and so he had the money to really kind of put, actual thought and
Mhm.
everything into it, like the details.
Yeah. Although there are still a couple of things that pop out that I always wonder about. Like, when the old man is plugging 75 plugs into one outlet, I'm like, why is he doing that? Don't they have other outlets? And what exactly are they plugging in there? There's
That's
like another lamp and a TV, and that's it in that room.
it's not like today's time where you have like so much technology and everything's plugged into the wall. Need to be plugged in. So
Yeah.
chargers and lamps and
I
and computers and
I think it's part of the exaggeration of Ralphie's memory. You know what I mean?
Right.
mm,
I think that's what that is. It's just like when he's, trying to, make them feel bad about, oh, it was the soap that did it, and where it's all sort of over the top and crazy. I think that's what that is because
Maybe.
there'd be no reason in reality for that to happen.
Well, my only thought would be that they were a little bit more poor, so they were just using whatever they can to put any electric stuff into, those outlets or whatever,
Yeah,
And
because they were in the industrial Midwest,
here's another thing. I
middle
don't know whether
class or
you
less. Yeah.
guys know this, maybe Moody does, but did you know that in the Chinese restaurant, the thing where the with the chopping the head off the duck, that was like not rehearsed, and it freaked the fuck out of Melinda Dillon, and that was her real reaction.
When
She had
she
no
went,
idea that was coming.
it is a different reaction because it's like it's not
Yep.
just a laugh; it's a laugh. She closed. Yeah, it seems very authentic.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Huh. I like that
Oh,
they, the place that they have it because and I think that's a real place. You can actually go to that place, but it's in Toronto, interestingly enough. It's like in Canada. And so they have the place, and they have like the bowling alley right next to it with like bowling not have like the W is like
Right.
lit out or something
what
like that, or
isn't that the name of the restaurant though? Bowlings or something like that.
no,
I
no,
thought
no.
it.
I think there's a bowling alley right next to it or
Oh,
something.
I thought the name of the restaurant was Bowlings.
I think
Maybe.
it's a double joke. I think that's the thing. Yeah.
Maybe. I just remember seeing both play, and thinking there's two different places
Honestly,
next
I'm
door.
surprised it's not canceled because of the whole Chinese restaurant scene where they're rah 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 rah
You
rah.
know what?
No,
I think
it's
because the guy
ridiculous.
comes in there, because the Chinese, the Asian guy comes in and says, no, it's not that, it's this, right? And he's trying to explain to the people and they just can't get it right. It's humor. It's
Right,
not,
right.
Mhm.
it's not meant to be like racist or anything. So I think that's the only reason why it's not canceled or anything. If that guy didn't come in and they just did that, or whatever, it would definitely be canceled. But because
Well, yeah, they
the
couldn't do
guy
that
came
scene
in and made
today.
it more
Yeah,
humorous.
yeah, they couldn't do that type of scene today. That wouldn't play as well
No.
today.
Which is
Well,
ridiculous because this is the 40s we're talking about. So come on.
I mean, I don't know because the thing is, the joke isn't really about the fact that they're getting that wrong or whatever. The real joke is the fact that they're in the only place that's open on Christmas Day,
Which is consistent pretty much even up to today.
today. So the only place you could probably go to that will be open on Christmas Day is going to be maybe some actually interestingly enough, this is a funny story. So last year it was me and my family and we like my brothers and sisters and stuff like that. My parents had gone on a cruise, right? So
Mhm.
they were out and we were all our whole family was together. And we didn't cook. We didn't want to cook anything, right? So we did DoorDash. And the only place we could do were Asian restaurants
I
at that
thought you were
time
going to
to do
say
DoorDash.
Obi ruined the Christmas dinner.
Well, no, but he might have. I don't know. He was
So
around.
I
so
mean,
so, so
Obi's
the
worth about 75 bump ass dogs.
Yeah.
I was like the Bumpuses didn't come and steal the turkey.
No, we had no turkey. We didn't make anything. We got it all from that place, but
Mhm.
like that was literally the only place we could go. We could do was and so it was like we had our own little Christmas story dinner there.
We had a few
Yeah.
things like that because unfortunately, as growing up, whenever someone in the family died, it seemed to be around Christmas time, and even when my dad was in the hospital a couple of times, really in a real bad way, it happened at Christmas, and again, we either weren't in a position to cook or nobody wanted to, so there's nothing else open, but we would go to the Duck House in Ellesmere, and that was open, and yeah, we'd get some Chinese food and get a duck, and it would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it's where they like the line that they say at the end. It's like it's where we were introduced to Chinese turkey.
Chinese turkey.
Yeah, yeah. So um, something else that really hits me with this too is I know it's 40s and it's Midwest Ohio and stuff like that. Many of my Christmases growing up was going to see grandparents in Ohio, so it was in the coal mining industrial area and all that stuff. So it did have sort of a very relatable for me. So I just this brings it all together for me. And then another thing I really like about this is sort of the dream type of. I know he has the daydreams and stuff like that, but the whole movie feels like has like a dream the way it was shot. It just had
Hmm.
it's not one of those glossy productions, which is
Well,
Right.
if you look
perfect
at
for
the
me because it
4K,
needs to be. Well, and I was when you were going to talk about the 4K, yeah, I'd like to own the 4K because I love the movie so much. But this is honestly a movie that DVD or VHS would be still great in because
well,
it's
Yeah.
it's probably better in VHS and DVD because that's the way it was meant for, was for especially
mhm.
for like VHS. But yeah, like when I watched the 4K, everything was cleared up, like absolutely, and it looked beautiful. Like the snow looked beautiful, the leg lamp looked beautiful, everything looked beautiful, but it was cleaned up and
Well, one last thing about the Chinese thing,
You
because
gotta make
you
there's
stuck on the
well,
Chinese stuff.
there's a movie that I want to do for Film Freaks that came out around the same time and is also a look back in remembrance. It's not quite the 40s, it's the early 50s, but it's called My Favorite Year, which is a
Mm.
great movie. And there's a line that Mark Lynn Baker's character says that I love to this day, where where he's explaining to Jessica Harper. He says, she's like, Jews know two things: suffering and where to get great Chinese food. That was like the greatest line. I laughed so hard when I remember that, and I always, those movies and Chinese food are always like a, simpatico for me.
I remember when I
well,
watched My Favorite Year, and I would go, "Is that fucking cousin Larry from freaking Perfect Strangers?" And yep, Mark Lynn Baker.
We
And I
are
was like, "That's
definitely
one of his best things he's done."
we are
That like
definitely doing that for Film Freaks. It's
we're
a
also
great,
eventually
great
one
movie.
day on Film Freaks, we're gonna do another movie he's in called Noises Off that
Oh
I
yeah, I've
fucking
seen
love.
that. That's
You know,
good.
a really good movie,
Yeah.
but not probably this season, but soon. You know,
yeah, yeah, but you say the 4K though really is clean
it's
looking.
clean, it's cleaned up, it looks great. You
I
know,
think I might like to see it maybe once, but in that version, and then I would probably be like, okay, I want to
come
go
on
back to
over
looking at
sometime, man. I'll show it to you.
because it
We should.
because
We
to
should
me
do it in the holidays.
Yeah,
have it playing during the during a Christmas party or something
we
like that,
can.
or
Unfortunately, we were having it at the studio. We don't have a 4K setup at the studio yet.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
Yet.
yet.
One day we will, but right now, unfortunately, we just get the Blu-ray. So, I mean, I'm sure it looks just great on Blu-ray, but like the 4K really does, I think, step up the look of it. We forgot to mention, we haven't mentioned yet, at least. We haven't mentioned the freaking tongue on the freaking
Oh yeah.
on the was the power, you know,
No, the flagpole.
on the flag. Was it a flagpole? Um,
Yeah, because yeah, it was a
okay, it was
flagpole.
the
It was
flagpole.
metal because it was
Yeah.
metal.
So, yeah, has anybody ever done that? Has anybody ever tried that?
Not with a tongue, but I've done it with like a moistened finger, and that's not good either.
Did it
Probably got
stick?
Yeah, not as bad as that.
Now, you know how they
I'm
actually
just
did it, right?
I think they
They,
had like some sort of tube device or something like that in
yeah,
there.
yeah,
because
so they
I
had
know
a
how
hole
I
in
know
the
how you
thing.
fix it.
What?
I know how you fix that. You fix it by getting warm water and you pour it over it.
Right, 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 right. I'm saying how they did it for the movie. So they actually cut a hole in the pole or whatever, and then when he stick his tongue in, they had like a tube that like sucked his tongue in there, so it looked like he was like really getting his stuck, and he couldn't and everything. And I was like, when I heard that the other day, I was like, oh my God, that is inventive right there. Like that's pretty cool. Something
And
like Hitchcock would do.
I was thinking when I watched it this time, this is the first time I really ever put these two together. But Bob Clark with Porky's had the scene with the tongue as well, but it wasn't a tongue to the pole, it was a tongue through the pipe vent that turned
Right.
into something else going through the vent. And I was just like, okay, this is only a year or two apart, and there's like some tongue humor here. I'm like, obviously from different contexts and stuff like that for the different films, but yeah, it's just
Joe,
Kind of
we got to
funny.
get you to watch Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
I saw that I was like a teenager, but yeah, it'd be almost like a new movie now.
It's such a great, great film, and it's just so completely unlike this one. It's just
We did
amazing.
that for What the F Friday, I think.
Mhm.
With
Well, he did the original Black Christmas,
Yes,
right?
he
So
did.
yeah.
Great
So,
movie.
which is the only one of those three that I truly recognize, to be
Sure.
honest. But because the other ones were, yeah. So
it's so funny.
good
We
film.
got Julianne for that one. And Julianne Prescott did that when we went to Las Vegas. And that was a fun movie to watch.
Yeah,
I
I don't
also
think
there was
she'd
another
seen that
one
one.
he did where there's like a soldier that came back to life and started killing everybody. It was like one of his first movies. And
Oh, yeah.
it was
Blah, blah,
really
blah,
good. I
blah.
saw it and was very surprised. I can't remember the name of it yet.
So it was an action film, though.
It was a horror film.
The
A
Dead of
horror.
Like
Night.
what?
Was it Dead of Night?
I think so. That sounds
Yeah.
familiar. Dead
Yeah.
of Night.
I
And
don't remember that one, but
that's
I just remember a lot of them, like the
yeah,
children
that's
live dead
another
things like
one
that.
that he teamed up with Alan Ormsby, because Alan Ormsby also wrote Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Those guys worked together on a number of different things early on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
I, just-
mean,
I just remember walking through like the Blockbuster or the video updates and just always getting like the old '80s horror films. Yeah, I mean, and this was done in the late '80s, early '90s, so they weren't old at the time, but yeah. So that's when I saw the original of that.
Yeah. And
Oh,
the thing
so
that I liked about that one is because that's the only other movie that I remembered his weird wife, Anya Ormsby. She was the weirdo in Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, but she was in Dead of Night as well.
nice. Yeah, that's another movie we'll probably do if it maybe for Indie Film Cafe or something sometime because it's a really good movie, but it kind of terrified me when I first saw
Heck
it.
yeah, it was scary and weird.
Yeah, he was really good at doing whatever the genre was really well. Like you look at his horrors are really good horror. They're scary. His family movies are very family friendly, very usually fun. I mean, when he did the paycheck movies like Karate Dog, I'm not expecting them to be like great
in his
family
in
films.
his
Super
in his
baby
raunchy
geniuses.
in his raunchy comedy, his raunchy comedy.
Yeah, in fact, Mallrats, they said that they wanted that to be like a new Porky's, or
Yeah,
whatever
See,
and
we need
stuff.
to do a mashup where we do a raunchy baby horror comedy.
Baby horror? Like, are
Raunchy
you
baby
talking
horror.
raunchy? Is that like what was the
baby
one?
oopsie.
It something?
It's alive.
It's alive. It's like
That's
it's
a lot.
alive, but with raunchy humor.
Yeah, there you go.
That sounds like something Steve Rosinski would make. Let him do that.
Hey
I'm
man, It's
okay.
Alive scared the shit out of me. I was a little kid when I watched that. A little baby running around eating people. Freaked
How
me out.
how so you were allowed to watch R-rated stuff as a kid too?
I don't know about allowed. I did it anyway.
It's
Some of
funny.
the late night HBO or Cinemax
Yep,
stuff, huh?
yep, 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 yep.
I was such like a good kid. I did not like to go against what my parents said. If I wasn't allowed to watch a rated R movie, I didn't watch a rated R movie or whatever.
I cannot have been the only kid who, turned on cable and went to one of the movies like Cinemax or Skinemax where it was all jingled up and you sat there and you watched it anyway because every now and again it would straighten out and you get to watch it for real.
Or you might
That
be able.
or
There was that scene
or
in American Pie where it's a tit. There's a tit.
or you have that, or on the old cable switch boxes, it's like if you push it a certain way or hold the bar just a little bit, sometimes it would freeze it and then it'd work. Yeah, the pains that the youth of today would not understand.
He's
Oh,
trying to watch
no.
some illegal channels. Paul's trying to watch some illegal channels.
Now they just go to sketchy Russian porn sites
Sketchy
and do what
Russian
they got to
porn
do.
site, which inexplicably has all this great independent movies on there. I'm like, the hell?
I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe all the Bob Clark movies are on there too. Who knows?
Most likely.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well,
funny.
I read something too that for that Christmas Story was MGM owned it
Mm-hmm.
originally, and then Warner Brothers bought out like a lot of the movies, bought from their catalog, and this was almost like a throw-in into it too.
Huh.
So it's like Warner
Really?
Brothers
That's
got the
funny.
power, got the controllership of this through the
How
buying
long
of it.
ago was that? Do you know?
It was a while back. They bought like 50 films, and this was one of the latter
Because you
ones
would
that
think
was
like
it was
nowadays they'd
done
be
for
like,
make
"Oh, we
good.
own Christmas Story, we're keeping Christmas Story.
Oh yeah.
You know, like
Yeah,
that's
yeah. Well, it was before it became
popular.
the popular. So like what we said when it first came out, it was not as well received and stuff like that, and it took time. And now Warner Brothers, I guess they just live on the profits of
Yeah,
it. So
that makes sense because I think like TBS isn't that owned by Warner
yeah,
Brothers?
yeah, it was part of the whole Turner thing, and that's well, I guess that make yeah TBS and TNT showing it. I mean, that's just pure
Yeah.
profit for them.
Well, which is so funny because like nowadays Warner Brothers with Discovery and everything, it's so different. It's not
Mhm.
it just doesn't even feel like the same company anymore, you
Yeah.
know.
Well,
Is
this
that
was actually produced by MGM. So yeah, so in MGM back in the '80s and late '70s, I mean, they were doing a lot of good stuff.
that's why there's a lot of Wizard of Oz stuff in the movie. I mean, when I
Oh
saw this, I was
yeah.
like, why is there a witch in here? And then all of a sudden later you see like all of them like in the mall or whatever, like
Mhm.
Dorothy and the Cowardly Lion and everything in the mall. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then that one
Maybe.
guy's like,
And
I
then C
I
plus.
I like the Wizard of Oz.
Yes, that's right. He must be one of the flying monkeys because I can't explain him other than
Well,
he's a serial killer to be because
did you
he's
did
so
you see in
creepy.
the in the parade scene the flying monkeys attack Mickey Mouse?
Yeah,
I did not notice that. I gotta
Because
yeah,
rewatch
it's
that.
Mickey
awesome.
Mouse is walking around there, and it's like the Wizard of Oz characters walk by, and all of a sudden Mickey gets attacked, and it's the flying monkeys that are
Yep,
running
yep,
after
yep,
him
yep.
in the
That was
parade.
hysterical.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
And the witch tries to talk to Ralphie at the mall and he's like go away from
he's
me.
like, "Leave
I'm
me alone.
like
I'm thinking."
I'm thinking, yeah. And I'm like that sounds like the old man. Like I feel like
It's
the old man would say something like that. Like
and the witch just goes,
okay, sure.
Uh,
and she just goes about her
Well, because
business.
earlier
Meanwhile, the creepy kid's on the other side. I can't.
I like saying then later he screams. So the lady he I don't know if he could be a serial killer because he was scared of Santa. Like, he goes up first before Ralphie and he's like,
Well, that's the reason he
Well,
becomes a serial killer
that's
because
what I was
he's
getting ready to say.
terrified of Santa. There's a
I was
whole
like,
movie on that kid. I'm telling you, man.
Oh Lord, I wish Bob Clark was still alive today. We
I
could ask
know
him if we can make that into a movie. Yeah. I
because
guess we'd
that's
have
just
to
it.
talk to Warner Brothers
It's
now.
yeah, I know,
another
right?
universal thing. Maybe not today, but when I was growing up as a kid, there's always that one weirdo kid in school that, I mean, there's weirdo and there's weirdo. There's the kind of
Mm,
weirdo that's a pain in the ass like me, and then there's the kind of weirdo that you don't really want to stand next to ever.
mm, no.
And that's what that kid was, you
Like
know.
that kid was a little creepy. But he was funny because it was just like random,
Right,
like he had like mouthful of braces and he was just like
I just love the goggles.
yeah, the
right, the
goggles. I mean,
goggles.
he had a setup where you're just like, who the fuck is this? What is going on here? And this, like, but see, that's the beauty of
the,
Bob
the, the,
Clark, I
the
think,
attention to the attention to detail of and something
Mhm.
like that. It's unique and it just enhances the whole experience.
Well, and it goes back to his horror stuff, because it
Hmm.
feels sort of like, like, okay, well, I can't make a horror film out of this, but I'm gonna put some elements in it. I'm gonna put the witch in there where she's like, you'll shoot your eye out, and all that stuff, and then put like, all this other stuff randomly in there
To
that,
make the scene uncomfortable for poor Ralphie.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Ralphie actually did not feel uncomfortable at all. Like, even with that kid, like, asking, he just
Well,
looked
he was
bored.
too busy dreaming about getting his damn BB gun.
That's all he cared about. And then he gets it, and he doesn't. He kind of shoots his eye out because it ricochets and
Well,
hits
off
his
his cheek.
glasses.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it didn't
and then
actually
the back
shoot
of
his eye
the
out.
the actual glasses got broke because he stepped on them. But
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, they
it's
didn't actually get broke from the thing. They just fell off his face, and then he stepped on them. And then
Mhm.
his mom said, "You can wear them until we get new ones." And I was like, "Oh man, it's gonna be rough to." I guess that's kind of a cool thing to go around and tell kids, hey, I got this from my BB gun, like, did you get a BB gun? Um, by the way, I
yeah,
did not realize I never realized his dad was the one who gave it to him, gave him the gun. I never remembered that.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah, yeah.
I thought his mom and his dad did, but his mom never, like I thought she was just playing like like she was gonna pretend like she's not gonna give you one, and then she does it, but no, she did not know the dad actually got him the BB gun. And I'm like thinking, did he ever tell his dad that? Like, or how did his dad know? You know?
Oh, dads know. They know.
I don't know. I mean, he did show off, like he showed off the put it in the mom's magazine, the little advertisement for it and stuff, you know? I thought that was pretty cute.
Did you notice there were a couple of times where they broke the fourth wall too, where he just like looks at the camera and goes,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
for some, and
Well,
usually I hate that, but he gets
mhm,
away with it because he's such a fun little kid that you can't help it. It's like
yeah.
this little smile and
He's
wink
a
and nod.
Well,
he's a
that's how it
sweet
even closed.
kid.
It even closed the film. When it closes as a push in on him, and where he's holding the gun in bed, going to sleep, which is a little crazy to be thinking about
That's
holding the gun
America,
while
please. Right there,
yeah,
that
well,
image.
yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
he's got the gun right. Like, what if he accidentally went off like in his bed, while
yeah,
he's
I
sleeping,
know, right? Yeah.
you know?
One other thing the morning when Christmas morning woke up and it had like the glittering lights and stuff like that. Do you guys remember that as a kid waking up in the morning and just the magic of Christmas? It's like, oh, what the presents and it's just everything that's getting ready to happen. It's just seeing them run down there and stuff like that. It's like I just
I
remember that. And
yes, I used to do that, and my grandma was already up, because she
mhm.
would get up at like 5 a.m. and whatnot. And I remember as a kid running downstairs just and early in the morning before anybody is woken up. And nowadays it takes a bulldozer to get my ass up. Like I
They they
don't, it's
they
not the
wouldn't let
same
they
thing.
my parents when we had two stories, they wouldn't let us go down there until they went down first. So we had to sit at the top of the stairs and they take a picture of us, the three of us sitting at the top of the steps
Well,
waiting and they're like and we're like, come on. And they're like, not yet, not
you're
yet.
probably not going to be surprised by this, but we were the kind of family that, the night before, one of the last things you did was you put out a plate of cookies for Santa. So, first thing I did when I woke up Christmas morning, I didn't make a beeline for the Christmas tree. I made a beeline for the plate of cookies because I wanted cookies. And nine
Well,
times out of 10, I got them in the morning.
you
Because
probably wanted the
nobody ate,
milk
just
too,
because
huh?
Santa
Well,
didn't
you
eat
wouldn't
your
want the milk
cookies.
then.
Usually, my mom was going to put them away, but she left them out, and then I just scarf them.
Wait,
Shit,
how old were you? Did
oh,
you
I
still
know, I
believe in
was a kid.
Santa?
Yeah, I was a little kid.
But you still believe in Santa, and you're just like,
There,
well, I
there
guess
should have
Santa didn't eat these today.
there should have just been crumbs left, if
I
that.
know.
Yeah, nope. I made sure to get those cookies before they vanished.
No, we're just saying they should have like ate them already
Yeah,
before you came down, so it looked like Santa came to visit.
yeah. Because
Your parents
I
did it
remember.
wrong in a way
I
like
I
that.
do remember one year I got up early, and my one of my parents, I think they were both, my youngest, my mom was already up, and she said, "You must have heard that tapping on the roof. That was the reindeer." And I was like, "Really?" And I remember I ran to the window and I'm like looking out the curtains and I was trying as much as I can. And I distinctly remember that year we had a really bad ice storm for Christmas. And there were these big, long, glistening icicles hanging off our roof. And I kept thinking, oh man, the reindeer's they're gonna fall off the roof. What's gonna happen? Maybe there'll be a bunch of presents on the ground. So I'm looking on the ground
Oh
like,
my God.
did the reindeer fall off?
That's a fucked up like thing as a little kid to think like, I hope the reindeer get broken legs so that they
Well, I didn't
fall on
say
the
I
ground and
hope. I was just thinking it might happen, and if that were the case,
you get other
someone's got to get
kids
those presents.
presents,
I just remember my dad doing stuff like putting like because we lived in Florida, so some of the Christmases we didn't make it up to Ohio. He would do like that fake snow on the windows and then make like noises around the house and outside and stuff like that, just to liven the experience and stuff like that. And then our cookies were always gone, so there that was there. And then there was one year when I became of age to where they had me become part of the experience for my brothers. and stuff like that, which that was like sort of a rite of passage, like Ralphie has in various ways in
In
here, that
very
I got to
lots
have
of
that.
various ways,
Well,
man. That
well,
kid had a lot of rites of
and
passages.
I remember as a kid that was me helping with me growing up, and then like with Ralphie, he got that with his mom because his mom defended him from the fight and just stood with him and stuff like that. And then the dad got him the present, so that was an acknowledgement on both sides of with his parents
Hmm.
that he was growing up and stuff like
Well,
that. But still, as a child.
I have another Christmas confession for you. And I don't
Oh,
remember how old I was. I was pretty young, but one year I discovered where they hid the Christmas packages.
Oh God.
And I broke them open because I was a stupid ass and I started playing with them. And I eventually brought them downstairs and said, "Look, Ma, look at the cool toys I found." And
I
they were like, "Really? Where did you find them?" I'm like, "Oh, it was up in the attic." And then, "What are you doing in the attic?" I'm like, "Well, I don't remember, but I found them." And
I found,
No.
they didn't say you just ruined your own Christmas, but they ended up buying me new toys anyway because they were nice.
Oh.
I found one time up in Ohio, I found a Hoth Empire Strikes Back base under the bed, and I was just like, oh. So it was like when they allowed to open us, we were allowed to open one present the night before. I was like, I know which one it is because I know the size of the present, and that's another thing. It's like as a kid, it's like if you're allowed to open up one present, you probably open up the bigger present. You want to open up the
Right.
bigger present. And as you get older, it's like the smaller ones are usually the better ones,
Right.
stuff like that.
And
So it's like
I always liked the stocking because that usually had cookies and snacks and candy in there.
well, interestingly enough, this I don't remember ever finding presents or whatever, but I remember something, and I remember when I should have discovered that my dad was the tooth fairy, you know, because I remember being asleep, and all of a sudden I woke up and my dad was in my room doing something, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And he was just like, oh, don't worry about me. I'm just go back to bed. And the next morning I got got a money and stuff under my pillow. And I should have thought that, I should have put two and two together, but I was a dumb kid that still believed that Tooth Fairy was a real person and that like my dad would never do that, or whatever and whatnot.
And
When was the first time you guys found out there was no Santa? Like, seriously.
there isn't.
mm,
I don't know. Maybe you still believe it.
fairly early on, but it didn't seem to really matter.
I think they told me one year um, when we were in Ohio, and then the next year they were like they were like we talked to you a little bit about it last year. We want you to be part of it this year. So it sort of evolved over a couple of years because I started doing like a lot of the kids do and started saying it's not realistically possible for it to happen, sort of type of thing. And I remember because I got a VCR of the one Christmas, and I was just like that was a big thing. And then a funny thing was with the first movie I recorded, which you guys would love, but it was when a stranger calls. So,
Nice.
so
Not the new one,
yeah,
obviously, not
yeah,
the
no,
newer
no,
one,
no,
but
no, no.
you know.
So but anyways, when that Christmas they talked to me about and they says we know, and then the next year they were like, okay, let's have you as part of it to help with your brothers like that, and
Well,
they were like, you eat the cookies, and I was like, okay.
Nice.
I can't specifically pinpoint a year, but I do know that it dawned on me when I started noticing I was getting presents that I needed versus toys. So I'd get things like, oh, socks or underwear or a scarf.
You
Oh, that's great.
you do
Toss it
like
and go
Ralphie
for the real stuff.
and Randy, yeah, they even with the socks they were like
I,
Oh, gloves, great. Toss.
I think
now it's like ooh, cool.
interestingly for me, I don't remember the year, but I remember my friends telling me, like, being the people that go, "You still fucking believe in Santa?" They didn't say fucking, but they said, "You still believe in Santa? Santa's not real." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Santa's real." And they're like, they were trying to explain to me how Santa can't be real and how they figure, and all this other stuff out. And so just kind of after a while, I just was like, okay, this kind of sucks. Now, like your mind is blown as a kid. You're like, now what do I, what's the magic of Christmas? It's my family getting me this stuff. That's it,
We should
and stuff.
we should probably put like a little blurb on this film freaks about people
Don't
who
let don't let the kids listen to this.
yeah, don't let the kids listen to it.
Yeah,
We want people to watch this and stuff like that, but
kids are a
yeah,
lot wiser today. They
I
know
don't think
more
the
about
kids would
shit
watch
today.
this anyway.
yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think we
I
have
think
a strong.
I think yeah, kids
Little
uh
kids grow up
yeah,
programming
what
shit today.
yeah, one of my nieces, this is probably 10, 15 years ago. She was at like fifth grade graduation or something like that, and one of the other kids graduated, and they're like, okay, here's your present, and it was like Grand Theft Auto, and this is like fifth graders, so I was like, yeah, they're in a different age and different time now. I mean, I
Yeah,
was
like
watching R-rated back then, but it wasn't that.
right. It wasn't where you can go beat up hookers and steal their money and shit.
Unfortunately, what a different childhood that would have been for me.
I, I don't know how you'd fit into this generation, Paul. Like I think you would just feel like you're left out Larry because you would just be like, I'm an old soul. I like
he he
cows.
he would not be the weird guy that he'd be the weird guy you'd want to stay away from in today's time.
I like Santa.
Yeah, like I like Santa. Um, but there was something else I wanted to bring up that was you know, so okay, so in the movie they have the part where they open up all the presents, like you said, they kind of just, but they all kind of do it where the kids just rush in and just pick whatever present they have, and then they pretty much don't even have any, like it's like free for all, anybody grabs whatever they want
Like
kind of
dogs
thing.
eating food.
Yeah, so did you guys is that what you guys my family's always had this tradition of having one person, usually it's actually
Passing out.
usually me,
Yeah.
picking grabbing a present and giving it to the next oldest, or whatever. So it's like the youngest start first all the way up to the oldest, and everybody opens one present each and everything. Takes forever, but
Mhm.
that's just the way we did it always. Like what about you guys?
When I was a kid, there was um, so there was me and my two brothers, and my parents. The situation was
No.
they grouped them in sections. So it's like mine was here, their brothers was here, so the other one was there. And if it was something for the three of us together, then they presented it in a way that it was for all of us together. But they would try to keep it to where it was more like, okay, each one of you guys do one together. And go that route, but we had identified piles, if you will, of presents. So.
Okay. Yeah, for me, um, you didn't touch a single present until breakfast was over.
Right.
So, and that was a big breakfast. Like Christmas breakfast was like the biggest breakfast of the year. So you put on 5 pounds worth just right there from breakfast alone. Then usually everybody goes over there, and then everybody, it changes every year. One person gets to be is selected as the gift giver, and then that person just randomly takes stuff out and then says, "Oh, this is Jimmy's, this is Terry's, this is Bobby's," and then just distributes them to everybody. And then, like I said, it's a different person every year, and we still do that today.
So
Oddly
you
enough.
do that when you visit your sister?
Yep. First thing we do is have a giant breakfast, and then we have our little gift thingy thing going on.
That
Yeah, see,
actually
we
makes
don't
me
want.
happy about you, Paul, because I'm always like, I know unfortunately you don't have your parents, and Joe, I don't think you, right? Like both of your parents are gone,
No,
or
my
your
mom's
mom's
still
still
here.
around.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I
that's
got my
good.
mom.
But yeah, so like it's a different thing. Like wow, that's funny. Like it's weird to have like each of us have our own different like amount of family and stuff, but like we have everybody comes to our house, right? I think you go to your sister's house, right? When
Yeah.
you do it,
Yeah.
Paul. And Joe, do you go to somebody's house now?
Yeah, Amber and I have our time first, and then we meet up at my mom's, and with my mom and my dad's afterwards, and then everybody sort of congregated there at a certain time, and then we had dinner and presents and stuff like that in the afternoon. So it was sort of like twofold. But yeah, and that's now it's like as you get older, it's like things sort of change because you obviously losing people and different lifestyles and different people are in different paths and stuff like that. So, that's kind of the sad part of Christmas sometimes because you don't have those things to look back on and stuff like that. I mean, I what I would do to have another Christmas in Ohio with my grandparents and all that stuff in the old coal town and stuff like that. Um,
Right.
and that's why you can live through some of these movies and stuff like that. So, anyways,
Yeah.
that's sort of.
And that was sort of like with me, it's like
Hmm.
my my everybody always came to our house. That was just always we were always the center of everything. Everybody was anywhere they
Mhm.
were, they could all just come there. So we would have it here. We would set up in the morning. We would do stockings first. So we'd open up stockings. Then we would do was a breakfast. We didn't have that big of a breakfast because we had a bigger dinner, than breakfast or whatever. Then we would go around 11 or 12, we would have presents, and that would last till about 2 o'clock or so, and then about 3 or 4, usually 4, we had dinner and everything, and then
I can tell you one of my favorite Christmases is the one that was when Lenore was still here. And
oh,
we had a pre-Christmas Christmas with Lenore, and we loaded her up with presents pretty much the day before she got on the train all the way
Mhm.
back to North Carolina. And because at the time I don't think they were going to be doing a lot with her family, and
oh,
it was kind of a downer thing for her. And so we
so you got
just
to
kind
give
of,
her a good Christmas and
yeah, we
stuff.
gave her a good Christmas.
That's
Just
nice. I miss Lenore. I hope she comes to visit again because
yeah, we hope
you know
so too. We
we
hope
had
so
a we had
too.
a blast the last time that she came for season 6, and everything. And we got to watch that. We got to watch a Christmas movie with her, I think. That the clown Christmas clown thingy.
Yes, was it
God,
Jocko the Clown, or who was that? I forget.
Wizzo the
Wizzo the
clown.
Clown.
Oh my
It-
God, that
Oh,
was
it-
there's a
it-
terrible.
movie
it-
for you.
and love her scientific explanations for things.
I know she's
Uh,
so good at that.
Joe, you've got to look up Wizzo the Clown for
Mm.
Christmas. It's pretty amazing.
It is
You,
our
you, you,
horrible.
you know my love of clowns. That'll be that.
Oh, you don't like clowns either? I forgot about that.
Mm.
Like my saying goes, anything that's got to paint a smile on its face is bad news. There's bad news there.
Like I can tell you one last Christmas thing for me and if those people who've been Facebook friends with me for a long, long time, or even back in the day when it was MySpace, remembers this well. Generally speaking, right around now, where it's a couple weeks before Christmas, is when I get on my social media platform and start talking about how unfortunate it is, poor Paul, poor bachelor Paul, all by himself, and on Christmas, and gosh, how horrible it is to be without Christmas cookies, and what a shame it is, and how depressing it is, and wouldn't it be just wonderful if somebody out there were to bake me some Christmas cookies? And there's always some poor person out there that I sucker into baking cookies for me, and they send them to me. And I haven't done it this year, but usually every year I get on there,
Well, I
and
mean, just wait for when Jen gives you
she's funny
some.
because she did that for me once, and then after that she's like, "Bake your own damn cookies."
That
That sounds like Jen.
Yeah, and that's
sounds
what I
like Jen.
usually get from most people at this point.
I'm surprised she's just not hitting you anymore. She's just saying, "I'm not getting you cookies, and I'm not watching your damn movies, especially nothing from David the Rock Nelson."
So basically, we could just throw an instant batch of a bag of instant batch cookies and throw it to you. It's like, here,
I need
Merry
it.
Christmas.
I think he likes the baked ones. He likes the ones that actually people take time and
Oh
bake
yeah,
him the
oh yeah,
Yeah,
oh
cookies
yeah.
and
heck
stuff.
Well,
yeah.
yeah, because those are unique, and I mean, and they have yeah.
And Jen does it because like that's what she just does anyway. She loves to bake and she likes to make
She
those things.
does.
So whenever she can, she'll do that for Paul. But the last like his birthday celebration in April or whatever, she made him a what's that thing? The Jello mold thing that we had to eat. I forgot what it's called, but it's like a
The
meat
aspic.
Jello. What?
Yeah, it was aspic.
aspic. Ugh. But it actually tasted pretty good, but it was better than expected. But like
Mhm.
those things are pretty.
It didn't do like Christmas Vacation with the cat toppings, like the cat food topping.
No,
Oh
this
On
was
no.
this was like tuna
no.
casserole aspic
Oh
jello. It was
no, no, I'm sure
strange.
she made something that was probably
It was
interesting or
surprisingly
good.
tastier
Yeah.
than I expected it to be.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was
Interesting.
better than we expected, but even she didn't even expect it to be good, so we weren't
Yeah.
sure. But it was a cute little
Hmm.
thing that we did.
Well, and she
Yeah.
mostly did because I used to send her all kinds of weird, goofy aspic recipes, and she's finally like, "Okay, you keep sending me these things. I'm gonna make one for you."
Yeah, for you,
Yeah.
nobody
There you go.
else, pretty much
Yeah.
because I don't know. But
You
anyway,
were
Uh,
collateral damage because you were there, so you had to have some too.
yeah,
so um, I'll ask one final question for a Christmas story from my side here. Uh, would each of you put it in your top three or so Christmas movies?
oh, it's
Oh
number
yeah.
one.
Oh yeah.
It's your number one? Okay.
It's my number one.
Yeah.
Is it number one? I'd say it's probably number three.
What's number
Number
one and
three?
number two?
Yeah, I would say the old Scrooge movie that I love from the 40s is
Hmm.
probably number one because I haven't seen it in years because it's just not out there. Maybe Turner Classics might have it, but that's the only other place I can think of it. And then I love Comfort and Joy. That's just one of my favorite movies of all time.
For me, I have one A and one B, and that's this one and Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Nakatomi Plaza.
No,
I'll
Die
do
Hard
one
is a
Die Hard.
Christmas movie, but it's
No,
not.
yeah, I have Gremlins ahead of that, but
Yeah,
in the
if he
Christmas
was gonna
story,
pick one, he'd
Christmas
pick
list.
Gremlins over
Yeah,
Die
yeah.
Hard.
Of the non-Christmas movies, yeah, I'd put Die Hard.
What
I'm
about Fun
agreeing
in
with Gremlins.
Balloon Land? Come on, guys.
I don't think he's seen Fun in Balloon Land yet.
Oh,
You know.
Joe, have we got a movie for you?
God.
Yeah,
No, number.
this is one A one B. It just depends on the mood. I mean, it's if
Oh,
I just
okay, so
wanted
they
to,
switch.
yeah,
And
if I just want pure laughs, Christmas Vacation. If I want some more sentimental stuff with more heart and stuff like that, like we've talked about, Christmas Story. And I say more often than not, I'm in say Christmas Story. It's a
what
better
about
film.
Santa Claus meets the ice cream bunny? You can't get anything more wholesome than that.
Yeah, he has no idea what you're talking about. You haven't shown him these movies yet.
Oh, Joe.
We did this last year with Jolene, and
Yeah.
we showed Lenore, and poor Lenore. I think we scared the crap out of her for life. Um, but
So Santa Claus, what now?
Santa Claus meets the
Meets
ice
the
cream
ice
bunny.
cream bunny.
It's a real thing,
Oh yeah.
sadly.
The ice cream bunny's amazing.
And
Amazeballs.
Fun in
Live and
Balloon
live.
Land is literally a drunk woman at a parade,
Christmas parade.
Christmas parade, talking about all the different balloons and stuff that they have there. It's that that's the
It sounds like
movie.
something
And
it sounds like something I'd wake up to in the middle of the night when I was watching something else on Tubi. Because
right, it might have like popped up like that, kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, I
Um,
fell asleep watching one thing the other
And
night, and I woke up and it was like some sort of Killer Pinatas movie came on.
Killer
oh yeah,
Pinata.
Killer Pinata's great. Yeah. And don't forget that other Christmas classic, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. That's we haven't done that one yet. That's a classic. Mystery Science Theater did it, but we'll do it at some point because it is a classic film.
Yeah. What's the other? So my other so Christmas Stories one, number two would probably be Elf, maybe. And number three would be Scrooged. The Bill Murray one. I absolutely love those movies. And Elf is probably because I've seen that movie so many freaking times. And Paul hasn't seen it, but I guarantee you, Paul needs to see the scene where was it what's his name? Peter Dinklage kicks Will Ferrell in the face for calling him an angry elf. You know, like
Well, Elf, I enjoy, but I don't hold it like it's such as a lot of people. Not that it's bad. I one that I really put up there, that I really love is Bad Santa.
I
That's another
don't
one I
like
Oh,
really like.
Bad
really, Bob
Santa.
Thornton?
I just
Yeah,
never got into it. And
the first one, because the second one is
yeah,
horrifically bad. but the first one, yeah, and those, I mean, you can always go back to the traditional ones too, like it's a Wonderful Life and stuff like that, which is good
There,
stuff. Or you got the new silent, with the one we with
Silent
that
Night,
would
Bloody Night.
oh, Silent Night, Deadly Night, yeah, that one, and there was the one last year that came out in the theaters, or 2 years
Violent
ago.
Night.
Oh, Violent Night, yeah, yeah, because
Yeah.
Silent Night's an action movie this year, but yeah,
Yeah.
Violent Night.
There was another movie in the 70s, a weird Italian movie called the Once Was a Christmas That Almost Wasn't. And I
I
don't know
heard
if
of
you
it.
ever saw that. It's a really weird and movie, and I remember seeing it as a kid and being freaked out by it. It was just strange. It was a strange movie.
With horror stuff, like my Rebecca had me watch for 80s horror, Christmas Evil, and
Uh,
everything. And I actually thought that was okay, like pretty good, but it
Mhm.
wasn't my favorite Christmas horror film, like Black Christmas or yeah, those kind of things are my
well, the
favorite.
one we did on Indie Film Cafe, the was it Santa Sleigh or
Santa Sleigh, yeah, with
yeah,
Oh,
freaking
that Goldberg, the
the
wrestler.
Goldberg, yeah, and had Fran Drescher in it, like and
Yep.
shit. It was such a weird fucking movie, but
It
I
was
love
fun
it.
though. I liked it.
I think on the Patreon only one we might do Santa Claus, and that's like John Russo with Debbie Rashawn, that oh it's so
There
bad.
is a movie called Santa Jaws that you have to see.
Mhm. I've heard
I've
of it.
seen it.
I haven't. Oh, you've seen it?
I saw it on Sci-Fi. It was released on Sci-Fi, and I thought this is the
Oh,
dumbest movie
it
ever.
was pretty
Like,
dumb.
and Madeline Deering loves it, of
Of
course.
course, of
It's
course.
it's Santa, and it's Jaws, and it's Santa, like together, like
Santa Shark.
Santa Shark.
Did they
You
have
know,
like a hat on or something? Or,
in the like in the like cover or something they do, but
Mhm.
like in the
Well, and the
actual
water
movie,
had come off. Yeah, yeah.
And remember,
no, in the
Moody, you
movie.
remember my idea of the mashup that we should be doing the human centipede and have a whole line of Santas all lined up.
Ew, no, no. I didn't even know where you're going with that, but
What did you think I
no.
was talking about?
Stay off the Russian porn site.
I
Either
know,
that or it
seriously,
could
you're
be,
now crossing into the porn
it could
site.
also
You,
be like Santa, then Mrs. Santa, then a bunch of elves and a bunch of reindeer.
Paul,
Ew, what? No,
Paul,
no, Paul.
you're getting certified on the naughty
Paul,
list for
you're
this.
about to get us kicked off
Oh,
YouTube for this
so many
shit.
lumps
Yeah,
of coal in my
yeah,
stocking.
yeah. You're certified naughty list with that one.
I know, yeah, that's bad, Oh God. Um, there was a Disney movie released just recently on Disney Plus called The Naughty Nine. And it's literally about kids who didn't get the presents that they wanted that year because they were
Nice.
naughty. So they go to the what is it? They go to the North Pole into Santa's workshop to steal the toys that they wanted, that they thought they deserved. And I'm like, is that really what we want to be teaching kids? That it's okay to go steal something because you think you deserve it and stuff like that? And you know who the Santa is? Freaking Lethal Weapons uh God, what was his name? Fucking what's his name?
I'm talking about
Not not
Mel Gibson did
not
the
Mel
other
Gibson,
one.
the other
The,
one.
yeah,
Danny
he played
Glover.
Santa in that.
Danny
Yeah,
Glover.
okay, yeah,
So
Mel
Danny
Gibson
Danny
played
Glover
Glover.
Santa in that one
plays
movie.
Santa in that. And I'm
Oh, it's
like,
also, so they both played Santa because Mel Gibson played Santa in that
yeah.
one movie a couple
So
years
maybe
ago
they
too.
can
Yeah.
play Santa against Santa, like Santa versus Santa.
And there's a new one that I haven't seen called "It's a Wonderful Knife" as opposed to "It's a Wonderful
I
Life."
saw it.
You
I
seen
saw
it?
it. Yeah, yeah. It never got the publicity. It never got the proper push in the theaters. I guess Shutter just doesn't have the funds to really push for theatrical.
Right.
But it had some really good stuff going in it. There's some stuff it's you sort of just cringe at, but there was some really good stuff in it too. So it's definitely worth the view.
It's on Shutter now, and I want to see
Oh,
it,
is it?
but I just haven't. Yeah, it's on Shutter. December 1st. It confused the crap out of me because somebody was complaining that it wasn't in the theaters for long enough. And then I said, "Oh, but it's supposed to be re-released, I guess, on December 1st, because it said released on December 1st." I go to look it up, and nope, it is. It was released theatrically, but then when it was pulled from the theaters, it was going to come back out on Shutter on December
Gotcha.
1st.
Yeah,
So
because it only got like a week or two, and it wasn't even playing a full screen.
yeah.
It didn't get much publicity at all. Another Christmas, it's not really a Christmas movie per se, but it takes place on Christmas Eve that I really like. Um, the movie The Ref with Dennis Leary.
That's a
That
good
movie is
one.
hysterical. The banter between him, he just gets pissed off at everything, and him and Kevin Spacey go at it, and
If
that's a good R-rated comedy.
if you want to mention something like that, I liked Trapped in Paradise with like
Oh
Dana
yeah, Nick
Carvey,
Cage.
John
Yeah,
Lovitz, and Nick
Yeah, I
Cage
never saw
all
that.
together. I just thought that was just so stupid. That was funny. I grew up as a kid. That was a movie I watched as a kid. For you guys, you were adults by that time, so you probably didn't think it was as funny. Also another one that nobody talks about, that I saw on Tubi and I got to watch again last year and I hadn't seen it in forever is Mixed Nuts with Steve Martin. You know,
Yeah, I never
funny
saw it.
little goofy,
yeah.
comedy.
That was like early to mid '90s, I believe. Because
Yeah.
I remember that was during my movie scene time, video
And
updates and stuff.
it's
Yeah.
funny. Two movies that you would think involve Christmas, but really aren't: Ginger Dead Man and Jack Frost, both of which we did on Indie Film
I
Cafe.
think Jack Frost had a little bit of Christmas.
A
No,
very
wait, wait,
little
wait.
bit.
Wait, there's two Jack. Oh, you're talking about the horror Jack Frost, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
no,
horror
we're
Jack
not.
Frost.
Yeah,
Not
we're
the
The
not
Michael
Michael
talking
Keaton.
about
Keaton.
I
Michael
don't
Keaton,
think you would watch the Michael Keaton
which is
one. So I apologize.
horrible.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking Jack Frost earlier for this type of discussion. So yeah,
That's funny because yeah, we did do Jack Frost 2 also with
Mhm.
Gary and that was awful. That it just didn't have the same feel and the same love,
Right,
I don't
I
right.
think. I think it
I
was
just
just
remember the back of the video box with that, and it had the snowman in the bathtub. And I was just like, and you could tell clear as day that it was like just like a big cotton or whatever.
yeah.
It looked so
Yeah,
fake.
yeah,
It was. I
yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, what is this?
It got even worse in the sequel because in the sequel it took place in like Hawaii, or
Or
whatever,
an
some
island. It was like a
island.
Caribbean island.
Some
Hmm.
Caribbean island, yeah, or something. So it made no sense whatsoever. Like, how can snow
It was
survive like
bad.
that anyway? But like they tried to make it make sense as much as they possibly because they had the water be able to just go wherever it wanted to go, and I was just like, this is just like, don't do this, Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, um, all in all, I really enjoyed to go back to Christmas Story. We kind of went off a little Christmas sidetrack there, which
As
we
we do.
do, this is normal. But I absolutely love, like I said, this is my number one Christmas movie. It's probably why I chose it anyway. And for Hollywood Boulevard podcast, tomorrow when we record, we'll be doing your one of your favorites,
Yep.
like one that you're
Yep. It's 1A,
National
1B. So
Lampoon's.
I was like, yeah, it's like perfect. A little combo
Ye-
here.
I,
Yeah, that's why I asked you, but I wasn't sure like if you even liked this movie, You were like, "Yeah, I'd love to do this."
Oh my gosh, I love this movie.
and
Yeah,
one thing I did want to point out before I forget again is remember Maniac Cop 2 was also set at Christmas time.
Maniac Cop 2. All right.
So it's a Christmas movie, damn it.
Hey, it's on 4K and I'm gonna buy it.
There you
It's
go.
happening. Um,
All
so
these
And
Christmas movies.
the
well, I'm really
worst one of all is probably Elves. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it's
I've
on.
heard of.
We're going to do it on Indie Film Cafe. Just
I've heard
as
of it. I haven't
permission.
seen it, nor do
Oh, it's
if we do
crazy
it,
nuts.
for Indie
Crazy
Film
nuts.
Cafe, I'll do it, but I have no interest in watching it on my own.
Crazy, crazy, crazy nuts, nutso movie. Can't
Wow,
wait to
I'm
show you
surprised
guys.
that Cool as Ice isn't the Vanilla Ice movie isn't a Christmas movie,
Yeah.
with
Should I take honor in this, or should I be ashamed that I saw that in theaters?
Oh, Cool as Ice. I
Yeah,
mean,
there's some shame there, Joe. I'm not gonna lie.
were you a
It
Vanilla Ice fan back then?
Eek.
no, it was when I was seeing just about everything in the theater, and it literally it was the first movie I think that played in the theaters that was on video within 60 days of its theatrical release. Now it's commonplace to be within a month, but
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
so
I
yeah,
think the
yeah.
only version of Cool as Ice on Tubi is the Riff Tracks version. So that goes to show you they don't even want to put the original up there. They just want to get made fun of. I'm gonna buy that also as well because fuck it.
And One last one I just remembered that I know a lot of people, a lot of friends love, and it might be their number one movie, is Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas. I have that. I don't have it on
Saw that
4K.
saw that in the theaters. They put it back out like last year. You got to see that on the big screen, which
Which
was
is
kind of
really
cool.
a Christmas and Halloween mashup.
Yeah.
You know.
Interestingly, I think I have a Nightmare Before Christmas ugly sweater. So maybe I'll wear that to the party
There you go.
there because I'm already wearing this now, so I don't need to wear this
You're coming to the
then.
party, Joe, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
are you also staying for the podcast, or can you not?
We'll catch up on that. I think
Okay.
we
There's going
talked
to be
about a time.
food.
We talked about a time, so yeah, we'll catch up on that offline.
I'm making a bougie macaroni and cheese.
Nice.
Bougie.
You can't have macaroni and cheese without it being bougie.
Of course,
Just,
of course.
you
And
know.
who can have Christmas without mac and cheese? Come on, man.
I think I've had every Christmas usually without mac and cheese, but
Well,
all
there you
right.
go. That
But
explains
now
things.
I will all of a sudden that'll
that
be the new tradition is I have
that
to have
that is
mac and
that is that is probably one of the 10 standard things that's always at our Christmas dinners.
And
really
Jen's
Mhm.
making cookies and bringing them in, and I got a whole bunch of other snacks there. So there'll be
Yep.
food aplenty.
Food aplenty.
Food
I mean,
aplenty.
especially since you'll be after I guess Jen leaves pretty much anyway, I think is the
Yeah, she's
time.
coming in doing her thing, and then
Then
you know,
heading out.
she has other
So
stuff to do.
yeah, she's
But
busy.
Jolynn is coming after 5, and I don't know who else is coming. I told April. April said she might stop by, so you never know.
You know April, don't you, Joe? You met her at
April
the
Crowell.
Yeah. Yeah.
April Kroll. Yeah.
hmm
Anyway, so that was it. That's it of our discussion with with the Christmas story and everything. I really enjoyed it. It's funny to look back at this movie because I've watched it. I've watched it probably every year since, I've been born, or whatever. So like it's a staple in my life and I'm surprised it took this long before we brought it on Film Freaks, but it happened and now it's
It's
out there.
Yeah, it's just it's funny because for my staples are always going to be the Charlie Brown Christmas, the Grinch, the original cartoon Grinch.
No, not the Jim Carrey Grinch.
No, 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 no.
Or the
And
cartoon one from
then
a few years ago.
and like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, that whole claymation stuff. There used to be a whole bunch of stuff that you can't even watch anymore on TV.
Scott
Oh,
Mosier
I got the DVD box of them all.
Scott
Nice.
Mosier directed the new Grinch cartoon. The Kevin Smith's producer partner or whatever.
Mhm.
That's his directorial debut.
Oh
So,
wow.
like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Even if it's not probably as great as the original cartoon, obviously, and it's probably to you it'd probably be greater than the Jim Carrey one, but it's awesome to know that like that dude went on.
I mean,
That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to direct films too.
I'll never forget seeing the Island of Misfit Toys and saying, "Man, I'm one of them. I get it." You know?
What was his name? Cornelius, the backpacker, the
Yeah, I think so.
something Cornelius. Yeah.
Silver and gold, silver and
Oh,
gold.
there you go with the burl eyes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just it just wigs me out that there are all kinds of people who've never get to see these things because they're not on TV.
Oh,
Yep.
well,
Rudolph,
um,
Frosty. Yep.
Frosty the Snowman, man.
Mhm.
Just the first one. The second one's like, but the first one, the original.
Did you guys ever see the South Park did a Jesus versus Santa
I've
thing?
heard of it.
It's really fucking funny. We gotta do it for Short Film Saturday at some point. I think you'd get a kick out of it.
And don't forget Mr. Hanky, the Christmas poo.
There you go.
That's one thing from South Park that I've seen. I don't. I'm not. You probably won't believe this, but I'm not. I've just never really gotten too much into South Park. It's nothing against it. It's just never really happened. But I have seen that one. It was all right.
The Christmas poo one. All right.
Yeah.
Out of
Mr.
all the ones to
Hanky, the
see,
Christmas poo.
Yeah. A
know.
group of a group of friends. I was with them, and they were like, "We're watching this," and then so it was. I was bestowed with it.
And he smears Noel on a shit smear on the mirror. It's so
Oh Lord.
It
Um,
was it was it was the magic lizard before its time.
eh,
funny.
that's true. Well, actually, Magic Lizard was a Magic Lizard by its time because it was
True.
Yeah,
before. But for
yeah,
you, for your sake, yes, that was
yes.
the thing that you'll never forget. You know.
What the
Walking
So
hell
in.
am I walking into?
So for everybody that needs to know or would like to know about Film Freaks, we will be back in March with
Damn,
Paul's
this is a
episode.
2-hour episode.
I have no idea what Paul will do but it'll be in next year.
Yep.
Because we got a really busy busy
I got a
time coming up.
bunch of
So
movies for Film Freaks. I can't wait to show off.
I
This sounds
know.
great.
And this is the 8th episode of the season, so we may actually get up to 16 episodes or more. We'll
Yay.
see. So we'll try to get as many episodes as we can for this season because, I feel like this season has been a pretty good one so far, and let's keep it going.
And it's a great outlet because there are certain movies that I love, but they don't fit in Indie Film Cafe. They're not horror movies. They're not forgotten horror movies. They're not Criterion ones. A lot of them. So I can use Film Freaks as a way of saying, oh, well, this is a really good movie that
Or
maybe
they're
you
not like
haven't
something you
seen.
want to do for quick review Thursday,
Right, 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 right.
or
Something I want to
whatever.
expand on, or mostly show off to other folks who may not know that the movies exist, because that's kind of what I like.
Yeah, it's funny because he does the ones that like not many people know exist, like the Warlord and all these other Prince of the City stuff like that I never even heard of. But then I like to do a lot more of the popular ones because
Mhm.
in
And
my
that's
in
fine.
my
That's cool.
opinion, when I do a lot more of the popular ones too, it attracts different people. So he attracts the ones that might know it, like the obscure people might know that one, and then I attract more of the people who are like, oh yeah, I know A Christmas Story. I want to hear somebody
Mhm.
talk about it, or whatever.
I've
So
been
there you
getting
go.
2 hours of it for us tonight.
I know.
Well,
Well, it's
that's
the
why
end
it's
of the
Film
year.
Freaks.
We
Yeah,
might as well,
Yes, this is
that's
our
what
special extended version of Film Freaks.
just for you
we're running
guys.
a half hour longer than the feature.
There you
I think
go.
so. Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
can.
Well,
This can
Christmas.
count as commentary.
There's a lot to talk about.
There was,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of talk about period with Christmas in general. And I feel like a
Sure.
lot of times we don't really do videos where we talk about our thoughts on Christmas or our thoughts on Christmas movies or whatever,
Well, and then the fact is, like I said, one of the reasons this movie is so popular is because of its universality, because it touches on so many themes and so many things that everybody can recognize and have experience with. And, we all get to talk about that. I mean, we all
Mhm.
have Christmas traditions, we all have Christmas stories, and we all have that one gift that we're dying to get, and that one crummy gift we got one year from someone and we'll never forget, and the ugly sweater and the Chinese dinner, and there's always that one thing that everybody goes through, you know.
Yep.
Mhm.
So,
For sure. And so I think we touched on all of that stuff and the weird creepy kid who's like, I like Santa.
yeah, Jana,
Yeah.
All of
That sounds like a South Park character,
Christmas creep. There's our movie, Christmas Creep.
There
Oh
you go.
Lord. That should be like a thing we throw in all our movies where some guy walks up and goes, I like Santa, like randomly, and nobody else in the world, but if anybody watches this show, they'll know where we got that
And
from.
best of all, he stands there and just stares at him like, okay, what do you expect me to do now?
Right? No, I mean, he just stares like, okay, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling me that you love Santa. I love Wizard of Oz. Like, great. I mean, who cares?
Please go die somewhere else.
I know. Go somewhere else. Don't talk to me.
It's so funny.
It's funny how he doesn't tell the kid, but he tells the adult who says something like, "Don't bother me, I'm thinking."
Right.
He doesn't say that to the kid. Don't
He's
bother me, I'm
creeped out
thinking.
by the kid, I think. It's just funny.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And poor Randy is there, not doing anything, just kind of sitting there, being Randy. But yeah, so thank you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know we kind of went off the rails a little bit, but for a 2-hour long show, you're gonna get that.
There you go.
know. It's like we got an hour of the actual stuff on Christmas Story, then an hour extra of
But
other
it all
shit.
fit around Christmas.
It'll be
And
good
that's
on
it.
TikTok.
Yeah, we could put different TikTok clips from different things that we said in this thing. I'm surprised I mentioned my app. Well, I say this, but then Paul says some of his naughty behavior and stuff too as a kid. So I think we both have done things that we're not proud of, but
Well, I'm
you know,
proud.
I guess that's where we're different. I'm not proud of a lot of the, attitude, the stuff, but whatever. It happens, We're kids, we do stupid shit. When we're adults, we hopefully have learned from that stupid shit. I don't,
Yeah,
unless you're
learn as we
Paul
go.
and you want to run around in a bunny
Bunny
suit.
suit and annoy people with a stuffed animal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But all right, just remember everybody, don't shoot your eye out.
Don't
And
shoot your eye out.
and make sure that hopefully you all get that gift you wanted this year, and whatnot. And
Especially if it says fragile.
we forgot to mention that for Gile. And it was like, I think it says fragile, honey. It was like, oh, that makes sense.
I think it's from Italy.
Yeah, maybe it's from Italy. That's exotic. All right. So thank you all, and to all, a good night and a good year. See you next year, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.